things, though. Most likely Sweep's last card, I mean, it's either Lightning or Earthquake, right? If it's not Lightning, Sweep's going to be having a really tough time because Arden does have the Fireball Arrows combo for the Archqueen, and he doesn't.
AQ at the bridge, RG to defend. AQ pops the ability. Fireball comes in. Not a lot of action happening on the left side. AQ does get on the tower. Now we have the weaker tower on the left-hand side. 1783 to 2031. Royal Ghost, nice use of the E-Spirit there to make sure that Royal Ghost does not become a bigger threat, and a Fish Boy to block the other one.
Wow, that was really smart gameplay. I did not expect a Fireball from Sweep, but this is actually very useful against Arden's win condition, the Royal Hogs. So he is down damage right now. If he can build up big pushes and maybe have some dual lane pressure, I think he could win this game if he's playing well.
Giant Skeleton working down that right-hand lane, gets pulled to the center here with that sight range, but that Zappy does get on the right tower. Not really the biggest deal, but there's the Log coming down. Log only hitting 2 of the pigs. Hunter gonna come down as well. Fireball to defend the AQ. The dual lane pressure is relentless. AQ on the tower, Hogs on the tower. Sweep is taking a beating right now.
And Arden does have quite a bit of direct damage, so it's gonna be very difficult to prevent him from taking this left-hand side. He goes for the RG in the back. He's saying, it's my turn, I'm gonna try and stack up a push, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be enough. Let's see if these pigs connect.
Sell-out push on the left-hand side. That Giant Skeleton is not gonna be enough damage. AQ is gonna be too little. Arrows are gonna come down. 61 HP remains, and the Fireball is in. A clean game number 1 from Arden Toas.
Very, very nice game from him. He played very well. He punished the over-aggression at the start and then continued with split lane pressure, and it just didn't seem like Sweep could find an opportunity to defend perfectly.
Yeah, Arden was doing great with his elixir management there, and as you said, that over-aggression in the beginning. Now, why do you think that happened? Do you think it was just one of those things where he thought he saw an opening, maybe the game got away from him for a second? What was it? Because when you look here, the average elixir, it's only 0.2 different. Sweep actually gets around faster, but you see the tower damage, and that is radically different.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, you know, there's nerves that can cause over-aggression. There's also, you know, maybe he thought his opponent was using deck that it wasn't, you know, it wasn't quite the deck that he thought it would be. And going over-aggressive against a Giant Skelly kind of high-pressure Royal Hogs deck like that, it's always something you don't really want to do.
Let's take a look here at the replay. Juicy, I'm going to let you break this down because you know so much about the game, and I know some about the game.
Okay, Royal Hogs come in the right-hand side. He places the Hunter right out of range there, but the Fireball comes in and takes that out. But this Queen ability, that's the biggest thing here. It does so much damage. I think Sweep thought that the Fireball would do a good job of countering that Arch Queen, but the Barbarian, oh no, the Fisherman, I believe, on the left-hand side was tanking for that Queen. And it just wasn't an interaction that he was familiar with.
Yeah, and of course that Fireball going out on the left-hand side means pigs come down on the right-hand side. The dual lane of pressure was absolutely phenomenal from Arden. And I think what's really impressive here is the composure of the young player, figuring that he would maybe be having a bit of the shakes more than Sweep, but I did see Sweep smiling. I did see him vibing, and of course he is the veteran. He's been in this situation before, and he's just down 1 game, and now he's going to look to bounce back in game number 2. I love what you said about maybe being predictable is the best way to be unpredictable. And now the question is what does he want to run? You know, his favorite win condition actually throughout the qualifiers was Graveyard. I think you know something a little bit about Graveyard. How do you feel about it at World Finals?
I think the biggest thing with Graveyard is that it fits in with so many different decks. You know, there are a lot of counters to it, so you definitely need to be wary of what deck you're going up against when you do use it. But I would not be surprised Sweep to be using it in the next couple of games, especially in the duels formatting. All
right, here we go. Game number 2 coming your way. Sweep looking to even things up to 1-1. Let's go. Arden Toas in May was able to get 6th place on ladder. And of course, in March, he got 3rd place in a global tournament, so had a lot of success in our in-game formats. And it looks like Mighty Miner out in both directions, and there was whispers on Twitter yesterday of a Mighty Miner nerf coming in, so getting the best that you can out of him while you still can.
Yeah, right now it's definitely a top 2 champion right alongside that Archer Queen. I'm looking at Sweep's deck right now, and I don't even want to guess what it is. 'Cause
Yeah, I was like, you can fall on that sword, brother. I'm going to sit back and let you do that. So right now, Sweep has got E-Wiz, Bandit, Mighty Miner, Bar Barrel, Poison top of your screen. I think all of us know what this is. The only change is that we started to see Spear Goblins pop in a bit more as of late. And of course, Spear Goblins also getting a little bit of love with that Goblin Gang change.
Yep, Spear Goblins just able to apply a little bit more pressure, and I lied. I am going to take a crack at this deck. I think it is a Mega Knight Ram Rider deck. There's the Ram Rider in the back here. Mother Witch here as well. Overall, with the matchup, I think it's solid for Sweep. It is in Arden's kind of court here, though, because if Arden is able to defend perfectly throughout the match, Sweep's not going to be able to break through, but all it takes is one mistake from Arden in order to secure a victory for Sweep.
So how does Sweep play this correctly, Juicy? Is it all about being super patient until he's got a little bit more elixir to play with since this deck is a bit heavier?
Yeah, you have to play very passive. You have to defend as best as you can in the single elixir. Once you get to double elixir, that's going to be your time. And I think the biggest thing is to remember to defend the Goblin Barrels with the Mega Knight. You don't want to be bar barreling it every time, because you want to save the bar barrel for the second Goblin Barrel that will come while you're pressuring, and you also want to defend with the Mega Knight so you can create huge counter pushes to try and break through.
That Goblin, Dark Goblin, just get about 10, 12 elixir worth of value, and you count in that tower damage on top of the cleanup there. Beautiful stuff. Nice use of the Ice Spirit to get on top of the E-Wiz and the Mighty Miner. Does miss one of the Goblins, does get a stab in. 1692 to 2828. Now, with 48 seconds remaining in regulation, Sweep feeling like he needs to turn up the heat. He goes Ram Rider in the back on the right-hand side and a full send on the left.
Yeah, you have to go for a split lane pressure in a matchup like this because your opponent is using a rocket. Goblin Barrel's going to come in. This is what I was talking about. Use the Bar Barrel on defense for the first Goblin Barrel, and the Mother Witch is going to do a decent job and spawn some pigs, though.
Yeah, Mother Witch doing actually a pretty dang good job of cleaning all that up. 1634 now remains on that tower. Sweep decides to double down in this left-hand lane. That Dark Goblin does get protected, or at least the Mega Knight jumps the other way, but it's on top of the cannon.
Look at that Mother Witch.
Has it on the tower. Mother Witch getting the piggies in. Ram Rider behind, Bandit behind. We're going to game number 3.
Wow. You were focused on the Mega Knight, and that was very important, that connection on the tower, but I was so focused on that Mother Witch at the end there. Arden misclicked a Ice Spirit. She did not get frozen up, and that allowed her to turn the Ice Spirit into a pig and then take out that Dark Goblin. If you could have kept his Dark Goblin alive, he might have been able to defend that.
One of the biggest things that the best players in the world have to have down like nails are those one elixir card interactions. We saw it perfectly before with the Mighty Miner and the Electro Wizard, and then we saw what can happen when you start to feed a Mother Witch. And I know you guys have all been there. She just starts sucking that elixir down from your opponent. Arden had absolutely nothing left in the tank. Beautiful, beautiful plays there. Let's take a look at a replay. Maybe it's exactly the moment that you're talking about. We'll see here in just a second.
Yep, it is. And yeah, when you are going against a quick cycle deck like this that does not have a Fireball or a Poison, Mother Witch is definitely the key here. She's spawning right here. Spawns a pig on the Ice Spirit, misclick from Arden,
and then it gets on the Dark Goblin. It gets the second shot in time.
If that Ice Spirit did connect on the Mother Witch, the log would have been able to come down in time, and maybe Arden would have been able to hold on and defend, but because of that Mother Witch value, the Mega Knight and everything just started swarming towards the tower.
Arden is not having success with bait there, and that's a bummer. You talk about Mighty Miner being one of the strongest champions in the game. Did not go the way that he liked, and that's the danger that you run into when you run into someone that's running a bigger or heavier deck like that. You got to get a lot of damage in early on, which is exactly what we saw. But then Sweep controlled that game at the end by a little bit of a blessing from the Mother Witch, but also he was doing a great job creating dual lane pressure, and I got to say, that's exactly what he needs to do to bounce back. Now we're going to game 3. It's a best of 1, and this is where I think the scales start to tip back in favor of Sweep because of experience. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. We saw it in the first match. When you get into this reverse sweep situation, you have the confidence behind you. And now, because of the new duels formatting, Sweep, he's able to take that sniping, that unpredictability to the next level. He's able to edit his decks right now and make changes based on the decks that Arden has played.
And you talk about unpredictability there. I'm just trying to crawl through these stats, and I do not see Ram Rider in there. Let's go to game number 3 and see if Sweep keeps us guessing. Arden Toas, top of your screen, Sweep at the bottom. They're staring at each other in real life and on camera here.
Snowball from Arden. Could be a lot of things. We do see the snowball a lot in a third game set because you don't have the log and stuff like that. We talked about the versatility of snowball quite a bit. Miner comes in after that, and Sweep's going to pick that up with a mini P.E.K.K.A. I see Sweep use mini P.E.K.K.A. a lot, actually. I think he likes that card.
I mean, it's an incredible card, not one of the most popular in the game, but we have started to see it just a little bit more and more. Maybe it's because of how popular Cannon Cart did get for a while. It's a great way to counter it. And of course, getting on top of the E-Giants.
Wow.
And speaking of E-Giants, there's an E-Giant with a mini P.E.K.K.A. in tow in terms of cards.
Yep, Arden does have the Mortar. He does have the Cannon Cart for the E-Giant. Those are a couple solid counters. E-Giant is doing its best to take out this Mortar, but it's locked on right now. Now here comes a Dark Prince. Arden has quite a lot of Elixir. He is going to go for a Valkyrie here, but the Inferno Dragon is at full health right now.
Snowball to push it back off. No, he decides to just eat it there and then maybe drops. There's the Snowball late. Gets on top of the mini P.E.K.K.A. as well. Nice decision making there.
But look how low Arden is on Elixir right now, and it doesn't seem like he has any
mini P.E.K.K.A. gets a shot. Mini P.E.K.K.A. gets another shot. It will get a three. And a Musketeer comes down late, and that is the last thing you want. Now Sweep can defend this very easily. Arden down 6, and a Musketeer on the board. Sweep decides to eat one shot and then get Zappies in play.
Wow, that is the perfect start that you're looking for if you are Sweep. At this point, we're 20 seconds away from double Elixir. Arden needs a massive Mortar connection to come back right now.
He needed to get that Miner off to the inside a little bit to distract the Inferno and pull the mini P.E.K.K.A. in. When you go Miner right on top of mini P.E.K.K.A., that is not going to do what you want. And while Mortar plus Miner Valk Muskie does usually pretty well against E-Giant, Arden is really struggling.
And that's a great point that you made there. A little bit of a better Miner placement maybe would have allowed him to have more time. He is going to get one Mortar connection right here, but Sweep having the Earthquake right now and one more E-Giant hit. He just needs like 2 more Earthquakes and maybe a Tornado to finish off this game.
See the difference in body language there. Arden kind of grimacing while Sweep nodding his head. Just can tell you the whole story of what is going on right now in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Sweep just has to have good defense, and he does have it. He has the Cannon. That's one of the best defensive cards in the game.
That's a great NATO, too.
Yep, the NATO with the E-Giant's going to always make sure that the Cannon Cart and the Musketeer are not getting the value it needs. And 50 HP on the right-hand side, that's just one Tornado away.
So 16 seconds away from a sandbox Sweep matchup down the line. But most importantly, Arden and Keith fighting for their lives.
Wow. I was kind of worried for Sweep at the end there, or after that first game, but good game. Really nice reverse Sweep.
Sweep has got to be feeling incredible right now. You see there, Arden giving a little bit of love to his opponent. You know, you got to love the good sportsmanship. You got to respect the good gameplay. And while it is a bummer for the young man Arden, he's got a lot more action today. And of course, he's got a very, very long career ahead of him. Rich, I'm sure that Sweep is very excited to talk to us.
Absolutely. Sweep, you're known for wild deck picks. That deck in game number 3 was out of this world. Tell me about that pick.
Honestly, a lot of my decks where he used cards which he couldn't counter with an E-Giant, so he used Zappies and Fisherman first game, so I saved the E-Giant deck for the third game because I knew I was going to win the second one.
Got that win indeed. Now, Sweep, you're not here alone. You have some family here with you supporting you at World Finals. Who's here with you in Helsinki?
I got my mom and my grandma here, and I appreciate them so much.
One more time, let's hear it for Sweep.
There's that moment where your mom screams in the crowd and you know exactly who it is. Got to feel great to have your family here, and I'm sure that led into the confidence that Sweep had in games 2 and 3. Talking about games 2 and 3, what went wrong in game number 1 with this matchup?
Once again, it is a Giant Skelly mirror matchup. I think the biggest thing, I talked about it a bit during the match, Sweep has no way to fully kill an Archqueen. Does have the Fireball E-Spirit Log combo, but you know, Arden has that Fireball Arrows combo. Let's go to the next deck. So in this point, we're in deck 2, looking at a Mega Knight mirror matchup, or sorry, not a Mega Knight mirror matchup, but Mega Knight versus Bait. And I think the most important thing about this matchup is that Mother Witch. Arden only has the Rocket. He needs to cycle 2 logs to kill one of those Mother Witches, and we saw that was the turning point in the match.
And here we go to deck number 3. Sweep decides to run E-Giant, which again, you talk about predictability. Nowhere on his stats do I see E-Giant in August, but brilliant plays with it. Let's take a look at the replay, and I have a feeling I might know what part it is. RF, don't do me wrong. Here it is.
Yeah, it's that crazy pressure, right? He went in with single elixir, a big E-Giant push, and he plays his mini P.E.K.K.A. He never stopped relenting on the pressure. Like you said, Arden, with an unoptimal miner placement, should have tried to kite that mini P.E.K.K.A. further to the middle. You can see the celebration from Sweep right here after those 3 huge mini P.E.K.K.A. shots that basically secured him the game.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you know, he's dropped the Musketeer late. He's overspent. The mini P.E.K.K.A.'s already connected. He's got the misplay in. And not only does that, even if the mini P.E.K.K.A. only got 2 shots, you got to think of what that does to your confidence and your down elixir. And then, of course, it gets that 3rd shot in. And it would have taken literally divine intervention, I think, for Sweep to lose that game. And I love his deck choices in those 3 games. I really, really do, especially to cap things off with that E-Giant. So congratulations to Sweep. That's all we're gonna see from him today, and he has just secured $30,000 with that win. That feels pretty dang good, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And like you said, he used the E-Giant in the final match there. Just with the other counters out of cycle, even with Arden having the mortar and the cannon cart, he still was able to play very well and break through at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things. You look at that matchup and you really do think the mortar guy's probably in a good spot. He's got the Valk, he's got the Musketeers. You said that glass cannon can get far away. You can place the mortar on the inside. Let's take a look here at our bracket for a bit of an update on the action today.
So, like we said, Sweep is going to be going on here.
Going up against Sandbox, the South Korean, and you can see that that's going to be match 13. That should be the first matchup of the day tomorrow. But really the thing that I think a lot of us are thinking about, especially Keith and Arden, is our lower bracket. That is not where you want to be. It's nice that you get the money, right? You got the 20K, you're in an okay spot, but Arden and Keith first on the chopping block, so they got to sit back. They've got a good amount of time for themselves to calm down and prepare their decks for the future. But as you said, Juice, you never want to be there on day one, and it does really hurt to take that loss early on in the run. This is a 3-day competition, and they've already dropped that first matchup.
Yeah, and we are going to be going over those lower bracket games later today, and we are going to see an elimination match between Keith and Arden. I mean, you got to be nervous for that, for sure.
Yeah, and since we have just a little bit of time here, our next matchup does involve someone that is not here live on stage, and there's a very important thing to let everyone at home know. Fair play rules are very much in order. We want to uphold the integrity of this competition just as much as you guys and Lucas, and of course, against Aslan does. AC, what do we got?
On paper, this is the premier matchup of the opening round between 2 golden ticket holders. Our first player received his golden ticket in the Snapdragon Pro Series. We have Aslan.
Merhaba, ben Genç Aslan, yarışmaya Türkiye'den katılıyorum. Clash Royale sayesinde hem ülkemden hem de farklı ülkelerden birçok insan tanıdım. Oyunun bana kattığı faydaları da göz önüne alırsak bu oyun benim için çok kıymetli. Sizinle aynı ortamda bulunup rekabet etmeyi çok isterdim fakat farklı nedenlerden dolayı evden katılmak zorundayım.
We have in our second player, the 3-time world finalist. He was able to achieve a back-to-back monthly final victory in last year's CRL. He is Lucas X Gamer!
Most of us work really hard to be here, and we deserve to be here. My goal is always to be the best player. Every world final is a step closer to it, and it's really a dream to be here. I want to be the best. That's all I want to be. Nothing else. I won't be satisfied with anything else.
Back in the saddle with my brother from another mother, Rich Slayton on the desk, ladies and gentlemen. Rich, first 2 matches, pretty good.
Exactly the kind of thing that we want to see, right?
That's right.
Close finishes, crazy deck picks. It's what we're here for in Clash Royale. And speaking of what we're here for, up next, Lucas X Gamer and Aslan. And you kind of have 2 very different stories here. Lucas has always been one of the top contenders in this league for a very long time. And then Aslan has been sort of on the edges. He's been a guy who's been competitive. He's been in some big moments, but this is by far the biggest moment for him.
Yeah, I mean, both of them being golden ticket winners, that's a big thing to take take home. They didn't have to go through that grueling qualifier in August. But against Aslan, maybe having a bit of a smaller deck pool than Lucas. But Rich, there's only one way to find out.
Let's go ahead and get into it. Match number 3, Lucas and Aslan.
So you wonder what this might feel like when you're up on stage by yourself. Is it nicer that you don't have the opponent standing right across from you? Or does it feel even weirder because you're the only person on stage and everyone's looking right at you?
Not if you're Sweep. He was staring at his opponent the entire way through. I would not want to play that guy in anything, but now Lucas gets to focus just on the game here. And you see the look on Aslan's face. He has had that look on his face every single time I've watched him play.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. He's always got that half smile going, even when he loses, which I find incredibly impressive.
So slow start here. E-Spirits on both sides. That's a little EQ cycle to open things up. Ghost in the back from Aslan. Lucas did have his breakout performance in Clash Royale. Place finish at MGL Worlds, part of Team Brazil. Followed that up in 2019 with a Moreno Cup championship. And of course, after that, top 4 in the world with Pain Gaming in CRL 2020.
He has quite the extensive resume. He's already won almost $100,000 in his career. And it looks like he might be coming out with RG here in game number 1. It was his most popular win condition, but he only had a 52% win rate with it, which is a bit surprising.
And a bit surprising here to see Aslan playing this in Game 3. This is his in Game 1. This is his go-to Game 3 deck. So seeing him pop this in Game number 1, that makes me feel, maybe it's a bit of nerves here. He wants to go with the clutch deck right out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I like that in terms of him not playing Mortar. Mortar is something that we really expect him to play a lot. He's had the most success with it. That lightning comes down, gets a nice cleanup. Hunter right there to boot. Now he's got a good counter push with only 5 elixir to deal with it.
Picking up with the giant skeleton in the middle, passing the midway point of regulation time. And at the moment, just a slight lead for Aslan crosswise, 27-35 to 28-32.
Aslan has only met one of our top 16 competitors this year in competition. It was Mohamed Light 3 times, and he was not able to pick up 1 set win, hoping to have a little bit better success here against Lucas X Gamer, although that is tough when you consider him being the only person that won back-to-back monthly finals in 2021.
And Hunter does come out. Normally Aslan does play RG Hunter variations, the 8th card on the board for him right now. It's a bit of a bridge fight. Starts going down with the giant skeleton and Royal Ghost trying to control in the middle. And Fishboy pulls. We should get 1 shot from the RG. No, it does not get that shot off. And now with 30 seconds left in regulation time, we have the Queen on the board, but no pressure on the opposite side.
Lucas has leaked almost 7 elixir already. Hunter right in the face of that Royal Giant. Of course, the giant skeleton to body block it. Creates no space. Now you wonder if Lucas will go opposite lane, if he's gonna, there it is, opposite lane, right on the spot. Fishboy not there to pull, but either way, that giant skeleton's gonna get on top.
That is a lot of damage for the Royal Giant on the left-hand side. Fisherman distracted, perfectly built push by Lucas as we go into sudden death overtime.
Yeah, that's exactly what you had to see coming down the lane. Aslan just not with the great placement there in terms of the Fisherman. You know, that Royal Giant probably was gonna come down the opposite lane, and then if it does pull it, it's still gonna be on that left-hand tower.
And a little slowing down here in the middle, not from Aslan though. He pushes up, and now that Archer Queen, notice playing the Archer Queen high, trying not to give Aslan a lot of time to make decisions about lightning value for the Archer Queen. Instead, it's the lightning on the left-hand side, and that Royal Giant, 3 shots, going for a fourth shot. 1391 on the left-hand tower, just like that, Aslan's back in the lead.
And you see Lucas kind of hunch over, try to zero in. That is not the defense that he wanted. He probably, it honestly looks like he doesn't know exactly how that just happened. Not having enough elixir to deal with it. E-Spirit doesn't really get a lot of value. So many shots raining down.
That Archer Queen walking away the opposite direction. Yes, you give less lightning value for all those different shots, but in the same way, not enough DPS there to stop the damage.
And this goes back to that conversation earlier about that range DPS unit with the AQ. If she's out of cycle or on the wrong side of the board, you need that DPS. Talking about DPS, shots in again on that left-hand side, but this is a big counter push for against Aslan.
Yeah, you heard the crowd on that one. Fishboy does not pull off in no man's land, lightning down, Hunter trying to help.
This is all bad. 2 shots come in, 4:02 remains. Lucas is in trouble. He goes aggressive Royal Giant at the bridge. Fish point attack!
Prediction!
Fish point attack! That should do it!
Royal Giant gets one.
That's
Royal
a
Giant gets another.
That's it! 40 HP remains, he just needs a log. He just needs the log.
Fisherman down, Queen down, trying to cycle.
There
Log
it is!
down.
There it is!
Lucas wins game number 1 by 85 HP.
What a play! What a play! You gotta go for that fish point block. He gets it in time. That was the only thing he could do to save that game, and dang it, he did it.
You know, we've seen that fisherman versus fisherman fight for so long. When fisherman first came on the scene, that's all we saw was bridge fights, predictions there, and that's Lucas coming out at the exact right moment. Knew there was one thing that Aslan had to do, and he stopped it.
You really hit the nail on the head with that. You know, back in the day, it was literally only Fish Boy on the right side, Fish Boy on the left side. They fight each other in the middle, but for some reason, over the last couple of years, it's happened less and less, and I think it's because the pros start to predict it. You see the early lightnings or the early NATOs to NATO in, whatever it is. But Aslan may be feeling the pressure, even though he's not here on the stage. He goes for the most predictable play in the book. Lucas calls his bluff, and he takes game number 1.
Decks very similar between those two as well. You had the Lightning and the EQ as the difference, but other than that, pretty much right down the line, Lucas comes out on top.
And Aslan was getting great value with that EQ over and over. You could see Lucas struggling to find a place for his fisherman, or excuse me, his hunter and his archer queen. You look at the numbers there, Lucas 55%, Aslan 45%. I'm actually a little bit surprised considering their resumes, but hey, that's you guys at home and your predictions. Remember, if you want to get your predictions in and you want to get rewarded for when you're right, event.clashroyale.com. Get them in. Always, always. We need them. We need them.
And I do want to say, because I know I'm going to get razzed for having the first wrong pick of the day with not picking sweep, but I switched it on events.clashroyale.com, got that sweep prediction, and after seeing all that confidence. So
yeah, I mean, really, you know, we like to talk trash to each other, but as long as you're getting the rewards, that's really what it comes down to. Aslan taking a quick sip of tea, Lucas looking around. He's got to be feeling good because that game really looked like it was going off the rails for a minute for Lucas, and making that play is exactly what he needed to do. And I will say, out of most of the competitors here, I'm not going to speak and say this 100%, but I saw Lucas grinding all day, all night, every single day, all week long.
Well, let's see if that pays off in a clean 2-0, or if we're going to go to game number 3. Let's jump in right now. Good luck out on both sides from these two guys. You know, there are a lot of Clash Royale rivalries, if you will, but I've not heard any rumors of this being one in particular.
Yeah, they haven't met each other this year, at least in competition. I'm sure they have on ladder and in challenges.
So this might be Mortar Miner out of Aslan, which is one of his best decks. He usually plays it with Queen.
And you see the snowball coming down because he doesn't have a log, I believe.
Very curious to see if Lucas, and with the Mother Witch, might be running Lightning.
And Ewas to protect that Mother Witch. That's a great play there on the Ewas. Then he goes hyper-aggressive opposite lane with that Mighty Miner. And this is going to be a very interesting mind game with that ability.
And there a nice switch to keep the Mother Witch alive.
She's still on the board from the start of the game.
Wow. And now Ram Rider behind. And
Aslan knows. Yeah. He knows.
And then, so it is Mortar Miner. Aslan usually runs it with Queen with a bit of a switch here with the Mighty Miner. Ram Rider, for the first time maybe in her entire deployment, doesn't connect on tower.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen that often. Aslan does give out the well played there. 1697 remaining. And I looked on the clock there. I don't know when he placed the Mother Witch, but a minute of gameplay had gone by, and she was still on the board. Meanwhile, Lucas up there doing a little dance.
Little Inferno Dragon cycle for Lucas. Miner to the low spot on the outside. Pretty sure he's not facing NATO, so goes to a spot that's a bit less predictable.
Lucas just decides to eat the damage there and start a new push from the back. Mighty Miner cycled on the right-hand side by both competitors.
The run for Lucas in qualifier events has been nothing short of astounding the last 2 years. the only two-time monthly final winner in 2021, and then second place at 3 golden ticket events here in 2022.
But a win here means so much to Lucas Rich. He's always struggled at World Finals. Last year's he ended in that 32nd spot. I believe his record in Worlds, I think you said, was 0-7 or something like that. And you can see right now, just picking up this game, what it does for his confidence. He's already dancing on stage. He's got to be feeling good. And it's always about getting that first one, right?
Once you get that one in the books, it's just smooth sailing from there. Of course, anyone can suddenly find themselves on the bad end of a moment. That's how Clash Royale is. But at the moment we're in right now, it's 1979 to 1697 with Lucas in control.
He goes Mighty Miner opposite lane there as an MK works down that right-hand side. Mighty Miner to protect the Musketeer as well. He was to help with the Mighty Miner and the Skellies. Great play there from Lucas again with that aggressive high Electro Wizard.
And that Ram Rider charges up for the connection as well, so opening the lead significantly here as we transition to the sudden death.
And doesn't have to take the mortar shot, the MK leap as well. And honestly, it doesn't really matter because we know that Lucas will be focusing on that left tower. But when we talk about confidence, it does matter.
And that mortar does get a connection. No second shot there, but the first one is significant. 1481 now. So trying to reclose that gap is Aslan. Miner tries to go for some fancy footwork here, but that's not going to do what he wanted. The connection doesn't do it again, and now down to 367.
Oh, and the right tower. That right tower is gone, baby. That is it. Our first 2-0 of the day. Lucas picking up one of his first ever set win at World Finals.
And what a win it was. Clean, under control, confident, blowing kisses to the crowd. Lucas X Gamer with a statement here early on.
I love to see it. I love when hard work pays off. And like I said, Lucas has been grinding all day, all night. And the interview with Lucas, I can't wait to hear it. AC, what do we got?
Congratulations on that awesome opening set. How does it feel to start it off with a victory?
I mean, it's amazing. I haven't won a single 1v1 set the past few years, even though I did like very well. So it's probably the icebreaker that I need for this competition.
Now that you've won this opening set, do you think you are the player that everybody has to watch out for?
I mean, we are all here for a reason, so I will do my best. I'll keep doing what I have done all year. So watch out, I'm here.
He is here. I love it. Back to the desk.
Thanks a lot, Josh. Let's go ahead, take a look at the decks from this one. And this first game, it's the near mirror match, RG versus RG, but it all, of course, came down to one play.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about that fisherman block at the end of the game, it's the only play that has to happen for against Aslan. You know, it's one of those things where if that's the only play, you need to think 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, because you have to give credit to your opponent in Lucas X Gamer. You know he's going to do exactly what he needs to close out that game. And then in game number 2, it was really just kind of domination from beginning all the way to end. When a Mother Witch gets that much value early in the game, especially early in single elixir, it is near impossible to come back from it, especially against someone as talented as Lucas.
Well, it's so hard for Aslan to get value out of those cycle cards because of that Mother Witch.
Yeah.
And then the heavier troop matchup to matchup, just difficult for him there, and Lucas punished him for it.
And most all mortar decks these days do run a couple of those swarmy cards that will feed a Mother Witch. I love what Lucas came out with in game number 2. Juicy J, you were gone for a moment, you're back. How you feeling about this matchup?
This was a very fascinating matchup to watch. I think, like you guys talked about, now that he's won this first match, he's going to be having a lot of momentum. We're going to be telestrating over the first match of the best of 3, the RG, and let's get straight into it. So, Arch Queen ability getting a lot of value here, obviously. He blazed the Giant Skelly a little bit late. It would have been nice to protect the Archer Queen, and then obviously Lucas making a huge mistake preventing the pull on the RG with the Fisherman. An interesting pre-lightning from Jen, and now here comes the counter push though. So he goes for the prediction. He goes for the prediction here like you guys talked about already, and that was the game changer. RG getting that final shot, and lightning does enough. And now he just needs to cycle back to one more Earthquake, one more log, and that was it.
Juicy, is there any better defense that should have come down for against Aslan, or was he kind of just painted into a corner?
That's a great question. Honestly, maybe you predict the prediction, you predict that Fisherman pull, and you play your Fisherman down low on the right-hand side. obviously you're not going to be able to pull the RG away from the tower, but the Fisherman's stun, when it pulls something in, could have been enough to prevent one of those RG shots.
Maybe a pre-lightning on top of the Fishboy. What are your thoughts?
That would have been next level, right? If
that would have been insane.
You know that's coming. I mean, the prediction on prediction on prediction, that's the game we're trying to play, but you have to take into account that you're playing in front of a huge crowd with the bright lights. Like, you take that risk and it doesn't pay off, that feels almost worse than if it does.
I think the interesting point that you made early on in this set, too, is Aslan loves to come out with RG in Game 3. It's kind of been his closer, if you will.
Yes.
So he decides to open with something that's very, very strong. He ends up in a mirror matchup against, again, this is Lucas's favorite win condition while he was qualifying, but he didn't have a lot of success with it. But Lucas can play almost any deck out there. But then in game number 2, I do believe you 100% know Aslan's going to run Mortar in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, that was a situation where he had to make that play, and of course, Lucas just one step ahead. And it's interesting, we've talked about the difference of not having coaches working with you directly between Game 2 and on to Game 3 as well.
Yeah.
So far, we have seen a lot of success from players who've adjusted well. We saw Sweep with this insane pick in game number 3, and then Lucas here, just a sharp pick for game number 2. You talk about painting into a corner, that was adding 4 walls to a room with no doors.
100%. And one of the things that these players have been doing, obviously they've been practicing picking decks on their own all week long, and then they go and they talk to their coaches after that best of 3 set and go, what should I have done differently here? How should I have changed things up? And I think that's a really, really important thing. The other thing is they're going into the game, they're building their decks in the dual mode, and then they're copying them from there, putting it in the regular deck mode so that they are making sure to not repeat any cards. Now, I'm going to knock on all of the wood that I can. We don't want any more repeated cards at World Finals, but that is definitely a risk that can happen when you only got 2 minutes and there's this crowd in front of you.
Oh, most certainly. We've seen it before. Hopefully don't see that again, but what we are ready for is our next matchup. Joshua, what do we got?
Our first player doesn't have the same list of achievements that everybody else does, but he has the swagger, which would make you wonder. He is Dominic, aka Doom.
Hello everyone, my name is Dominic, aka Doom. I am Bosnian, currently living in Germany, and this will be my first time competing on stage. I am very excited. Clash Royale is my dream hobby, and I am very happy that I was able to achieve something like this. I want to say good luck to all my opponents and see you in the arena.
Our second player, he's the winner of the first golden ticket. He's the reason why Space Station Gaming won the spring season of 2020. He is Samuel Basoto.
I started playing Clash Royale and I got better and better, and now I'm here in the World Championship, and that's crazy. The biggest moment for me so far has been when I got the golden ticket. I want to win this game.
And those of you in the know are probably aware this is one of the most anticipated matchups of the day. You know, you talk about bad blood. These two have been at each other. The trash talk before this one, absolutely epic. And I know the winner today is going to celebrate pretty hard.
Oh, I am 100% sure that that is going to be a very uncomfortable walk away from the stage for whoever does not pick up that 2 games in this set. Yeah, we've all been here for a week. It's been a lot of fun, but also when you're here for a week with the people that you're competing for $1 million against, there might be a little bit of bad blood. And let's hop into the very first matchup here between Sam and Doom.
You know, on paper, Sam is supposed to be the favorite here, but there's a lot of X factors in this matchup. Sam has been talented for a very long time, but Doom coming off a recent #1 finish on ladder, and of course, working very, very hard. And if there's ever been any question about Samuel Basoto, it is not skill at all. Talent is 100% there. The question is always been work ethic, especially as of late. We haven't really seen much of him since winning his golden ticket, and word is he tends to practice friendly battles, not as much duels, while Doom is totally pumped up and has a target on Sam's back.
Well, it's one of those things where when you win that golden ticket that early on in the year, you're like, I don't need to do my homework. I don't need to do my homework. I got months. I got almost a whole year to get there. But then all of a sudden, July rolls around the corner. You haven't put in the work. We'll see if that's the case or not. Sam going Mortar here early in game #1. Doom with Bowler, maybe Loon, Freeze.
Most likely. It does have that feeling. Of course, he could be going with Graveyard potentially, but probably Bowler, Loon, Freeze. And it's definitely sort of in his wheelhouse. He has a few decks that he relies on, tends to play Comfort. He does practice this deck, but you know, it feels like he's going for something tricky here in game #1.
Yeah, and that's probably the best way to go. You know, he is a guy that loves to play in the skies. He's known for being a lava player, but lava is not super great in the meta. And also, you don't want to play what you're known for the most. Let's still get to the skies with that Loon, but I'll tell you, this matchup, if Sam plays it correctly, he shouldn't struggle too much.
Yeah, nice high mortar, easy control, and now flooding right under that right-hand side.
And this is a beautiful moment of min-max, Rich. He takes one shot from the Loon to take that right-hand tower. I love it, and that is a next-level play.
Yeah, wow, down to 144 already. Doom on his back heels very, very early.
And that is a better minor placement when you're trying to avoid that Inferno Dragon damage.
Sam taking control of the game pretty firmly here. With that tower down, minute 15 remaining for Sam to clutch up game #1, $84,500. So far, won in his career, and now just a few minutes away from adding another 10 on top of the 20 he already earned here at World Finals.
I love that play so much to go, I can take that balloon shot. He's not going to freeze because he doesn't have the elixir to defend. So he knows it's not going to be a tower trade situation. We'll see as Doom pours it on the left-hand lane. Mortar comes down to defend. AQ not there. Poison will be enough to mitigate most of this damage. One Loon shot should come in. There it is.
And just not quite enough to get the freeze down in time. You saw the elixir for Doom just stretching, reaching to get there, but couldn't quite make it happen. And now 30 seconds left. It's do or die in game #1.
And I love that pull there with the miner, making sure that Bowler doesn't get on top of the Arch Queen, combined with that Bar Barrel. Fire Spirit to still distract for the AQ, but now probably a freeze gonna come in, or excuse me, a poison gonna come in again defensively.
That poison with the slow back in action, definitely important here against the Loon. Now the question is, can he get around? Freeze is in. 5 seconds, not going to be enough.
There it is.
The thanks
and there's
from
the
Samuel.
BM. You know it's going to happen. Not even looking at each other on stage. And finally at the end, you see the eyes come up from Samuel going, hey man, you've been messing with me all week? Here I am in game #1.
Yeah, the thanks might be the dirtiest one of all those different text options there. Thank you, you gave it to me, and I took it.
There was also that tweet from AC earlier this week talking about how when he says well played, he means it, but he doesn't think his opponent does. Sam definitely meant that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Thank you indeed. And now we go on to game #2, and this is where I think we start to see Sam open up a little bit. Went with a fun minor play there, but now in game #2, Bowler freeze. We'll talk about that in a moment. First, let's look at the action from game #1.
And I know what it's going to be. I know what it's going to be. Here it is, the Loon coming across the bridge. The Mortar up high. Loon is rage up. Sam knows this game like the back of his hand. What does he do? I know what's in cycle, and I know what is not. Valkyrie at the bridge, crossing over, guards behind. I'm happy to take this Loon drop. I'm happy to take the death damage. You know what else I'm happy to take? Your right-hand tower. Beautiful plays there from Sam to start this out. 144 remains after a minute and 30 of gameplay.
Yeah, and you see Doom there just nodding his head going, okay.
You got me.
Yeah, you got me. I got caught there. And that happens to all of us, but the question is, how do you recover from that? So the one thing that's good for Doom in that situation, most of those cards in Bowler, Loon, Freeze don't hit most of the rest of the deck pool, including his own.
100%.
So that gives him some good options here. On the other side of it, Sam has the advantage, and Sam sees NATO out. which opens up so many options.
I mean, Sam just has the world in front of him at this moment just because, and looking here really quickly at the predictions, yes, Sam is the favorite on paper, but Doom has been feeling really confident. As you said, he's been playing very, very well as of late. He's got a 100% win rate against a couple of the great pros that we have in this tournament, including Morton and Pandora. Now, it's obviously only in competition in 2022, but because we haven't seen a lot of Sam, he's also got a 100% win rate against Mugi, Arden, and Lucas, which is just showing he is on a run.
Let's go ahead and jump into it. Game number 2 on its way right now. With NATO out and Sam loving to run Hog, that feels like an option, but he usually runs it with Valkyrie, which we just saw last game. So very curious to see what kind of decksmanship.
Yeah!
There we go. We might see an Royal Ghost, so almost assuredly not Hog. And wow, Doom going the ultimate comfort. Lava in game 2. Is Sam ready for it?
And it's got to be Lava Minor, right? Because he doesn't have Loon. What else can be paired with it?
He does run Lava Clone on occasion, but only when Poison and NATO are out. So, yeah, gonna be Lava Minor.
And Sam goes, well, in case it is Lava Clone, I do have an Executioner making its debut here at World Finals. After that range buff as of late, we've started to see it more and more competitive. Still not a popular card by any means, but it is definitely showing up a lot more these days.
We've seen this version of Drill popping up specifically with this Executioner put in there, and look, when you're going back against a Lava player, why not?
Yeah, and I love the idea too, because usually the Xe replaces that Magic Archer, but now with the Xe, you don't have to worry about the spell power as much. You don't want to get that Magic Archer fireballed or poisoned off the board, whereas that Xe just has a little bit more HP as Sam's cannon cart gets on top of that left-hand tower, and that stood Doom right up.
And look at this, going opposite lane with the Royal Ghost as well. Sam has to put up some defense. There you go, the Executioner to just clean all of that up.
And the look over at it, Doom getting talked to by our referees. Not sure exactly what's going on there, but damage does come in for Doom here on that right-hand side with those guards. But Sam in the lead still.
Golden Knight down in front of the Executioner. Oh my word.
Dom repeated a card.
No way.
Dominic repeated a card.
No way.
Lumberloon Freeze usually has Baby D.
Unbelievable.
We just talked about not having a repeated card, and now we have it. He repeated his guards. He repeated his guards.
No way.
That is exactly what Samwell wants after a week of trash talk from Doom. The fastest 2-0 that we've seen here at our World Finals so far. Let's see what Sam has to say. We're going to the stage.
Samuel, congratulations, opening round victory. How do you feel?
Samuel, como você se sente ganhando no primeiro round?
Sinto ótimo, a melhor experiência que eu já tive na minha vida. Vamos!
I feel great. It's the best experience I've ever had in my life.
I could tell that energy just from his statement. Congratulations again, and back to the casters.
I don't even know what to do with that right now. You talk all that trash all week. You know, maybe it's just the weight of expectations in that moment. Repeating a card, unbelievable. Now, one big difference here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you got to say it.
He stays in. He's not out yet.
Yes, he is.
He's lower bracket.
Well, I thought you were going to talk about this deck.
Oh, yeah. Also, that's the craziest part. Let's take a look at the deck. So here, we'll talk about this first matchup here. The Bowler Loon Freeze, the great play with the Archer Queen, the Mortar, the Poison, great control from Samuel Basoda.
Yeah, 100%. You see that Valkyrie push in, the guards behind. I guess I misunderstood our producer there. I thought he said guards. He said cards. And I don't remember seeing guards in game number 1. But as you can see, this is what happens. Sam outplays him with that aggressive play. But then you go into game number 2. There is the NATO. There is the NATO.
Oh, this is the same two decks from game number 1.
He repeated a card, ladies and gentlemen. We know that it happened.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at that second deck here in a minute. But you and I, if we get to see it, we saw it afterwards.
Yeah.
The little secret there,
Hog Rider.
Hog Rider was in that Lava Hound deck.
It was a Lava Hog Rider deck. Now, I will say, during practice this week, we saw that change-up of 2.6 where they take out Hog and put in Lava Hound, but this was absolutely crazy to see Lava Hound plus Hog Rider. Meanwhile, you are also repeating a card.
Yeah, just craziness all over the board. Who knows? You know, he was maybe trying to select the deck here, got mixed up a little bit. That's just one of those moments where you got to feel maybe being down one just got to him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the biggest thing about when you talk a lot of trash and then you drop the ball early on is you feel that pressure magnify on yourself because you go, I have to back this up because it's not just about the game now, it's also about pride. And that's one of the things that maybe you don't want to put on the line when you're playing against someone that's already won almost $100,000 in their career. They've been a champion before. They won the first golden ticket. Samuel's very respected in the community in terms of his gameplay, and he just showed us why.
Now, let's be clear. This was also Lava up against an Executioner deck. Clearly, there was some preparation from Samuel's part. He had a good matchup, or at least a fairly decent matchup up to that point, so who knows if it would have changed anything, but Sam was definitely in the pocket.
So it sounds like now there may be something going on backstage with what just happened, so we're going to get to the bottom of exactly what that is before we start moving on through the day. As you guys saw, we thought we heard guards. It wasn't guards. We thought we heard card, and then you saw that we didn't get to see deck number 2, so not 100% exactly what has happened yet. And if he did not repeat a card, this is a very fascinating conversation because Sam just got to celebrate like he just won a 2-0 victory.
Yes, indeed.
What does that do to the mentality of both of you? Doom starts to feel like he has an extra life. He just got given an extra life at World Finals, maybe, or Sam, he gets, when you feel that good about winning and you have to reel it back in and dial back into the game. Because as you guys know, when you win a game or a match today, you get $10,000 more and you don't have to play again till tomorrow, which is a really big part of this equation.
And of course, we don't know yet exactly what the conversation is right now. So as soon as we have more information,
I'm sure they can tell.
Yeah, as soon as we have more information, you'll have the information as well. So hold your horses on that one. Man, I mean, we go back to game number 1, right? I don't know if we have the game 1 deck available. If we do, we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Go back to game number 1, that Bowler Loon freeze choice, not one of Doom's primary decks, right? Yeah. And then we see him going Lava in game number 2. You know, he typically plays Lava Miner, Lava Loon, or occasionally
Lava Clone.
Yes. So certainly, you know, taking that first one out, maybe the Lava pick in game number 2 was him going, you know what, you've already seen me play a lot of pieces of Lava, maybe you think I won't do it, plus this is my deck.
Yeah, you know, but now we've seen twice in a row where their opponents are going, we know what you're absolutely best with or what your comfort is, and they're looking for that matchup when they're down 1. We saw it last time against Aslan, and then again here with Sam. I mean, Sam hasn't been practicing a lot apparently, but I wonder how much he's actually practiced with Executioner. Now, he knows the mechanics of that deck because of how popular it was with Magic Archer and Ewiz, but you swap in that Exy, and I really think that is a great snipe because of the HP specifically. You can't get spelled off the board easily.
Definitely not. And I do want to take a moment to point out that if Basoto does end up winning here, that's 3 members of that 2020 Pain Gaming team, the squad that was assembled for the fall split after not being in CRL together. That's a few members there who are coming through.
Yeah, and you know, if this match is actually over with, we are only a third of the way through the day. We've still got 4 more in the upper bracket, and then as we know, 4 elimination matches. And you travel all the way across the world. You've been here for a week, adjusting to the clock, grinding all day long, playing on internet, playing on different devices, and you got to think, what does that do to their mentality when you are in that lower bracket? How much more pressure do you think they're going to feel in their next game than they felt in their first one?
And let me go ahead and correct there. Sam was not on that Pain Gaming team, as I just said that. Just Brazilian and friends with Lucas Gamer. So, you know, there's a lot of craziness happening right here. We did not expect to see a repeated card, but as
well, Rich, you and I have never made a mistake in our whole career.
No, none, not at all.
They've loved us since 2018.
For sure, with 100% the whole way through. Man, it's one of those things where you talk about the pressure here at a moment like this when, of course.
We have it too.
Yeah, we have a little bit as well. We are getting some word right now that there was not a repeated card, and we're going to pick this up from game number 2. So it's still 1-0 Samuel. It's still those first 16 cards out, 8 on each side, but we are going to continue from game number 2. Wow, unbelievable.
I'm literally speechless right now. You have 2 people that are coming off of a very interesting emotional roller coaster over the last 5 minutes. Samuel thinks that he's won, he's walked away, he doesn't have to show up again until tomorrow. And then Doom on the other side of it probably going, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, I did not repeat a card, or it's not, you know, like, what are you doing here?
Well, the interesting thing now is they're going to go and get 2 minutes to build decks. The surprise that Doom had built into that, the Hog Rider that we saw as part of that Lava Hound, that's
can't
gone.
play it.
Now,
Yeah.
now here's the thing. It still might not have made a difference. It still might have been locked down with the counter snipe by Samwell,
Yes.
but that whole pop there going, hey, you've been shutting down this Lava Hound, boom, Hog Rider opposite lane, that's no longer there.
Well, and also you talk about the snipe that Sam had come in, and now that's no longer effective. Doom getting kind of a break here because that wasn't the matchup I think he wanted. Sam had a lot of pieces to deal with the Lava Hound, with a Hog Rider, and now neither of their choices are available anymore because you can't just run it back.
Or you can.
Or
play
you
the
can.
Mind game.
That's right.
Play
You
the
can't
mind
play
game.
the mind
Go ahead
game.
and do it again. That's, I mean, look, that's a call you have to make right now is do they anticipate?
But they don't have their coaches.
But they don't have their coaches.
You
They gotta
know?
go ahead and figure it out.
Yeah, I know. This is why in order to win that $250,000, you truly do have to be the best in the world. You got to play through all of these crazy factors. And of course, this is not what we expected in this matchup, but I think it's still going to be a good one. There's a lot of bad blood, like you said. There's all of this hullabaloo going on, but they get to go back into game number 2 here in just 1 minute.
So here's the question now. Who takes the bigger emotional impact? Sam thinking he had won and being locked down, or Doom with this crazy roller coaster he's been on?
I got to go Sam. I feel like Sam had a better matchup in match number 2. I felt like he kind of had his number, and I felt like Doom has now had a lot of time to not only recollect himself, but be correct about a monumental argument that he's probably having with League Ops. So he gets to come back and go, look, I get to come back, I get another life, I get to change up my deck, Sam Snipe is no longer in play, and then this leads us to so many question marks in game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, all over the board. What's their mentality like? Where do you go? If you don't go from here, right, then where do you go in your deck pool? You have a plan built for game 1 and game 2, and you kind of play on the fly in game number 3. Well, then now do you kind of think about what you might have gone for game number 3 and slot that back in? Do you craft from scratch again?
It's just not the same conversation as it used to be when it was in teams format, because dual mode, when you are on this stage, when you don't have your coach or your analyst, it's kind of like starting a ball or a snowball at the top of a hill, and then based off of what it hits along the way, that is the only course it can go down. So you saw what happened in game number 1, what was played, what is available, what they played, and that deck 2, it's not like an accident that those are the decks that came out. So this is rebuilding from the ground, except for Sam has 1 in the pocket. So I still have to give him the advantage, even though I do think Doom is in a better mental spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably right. I mean, look, if there's one thing I will say, Sam did look sharp, looked very, very sharp. And I might be eating my words here in terms of the preparation side of things. Sam looked dialed in. So the question is, can you remain dialed in, right? What are you thinking about besides just gameplay?
Well, I think the most important thing, Rich, is you cannot be upset.
Yeah.
If you're Samuel Basoto, you need to calm whatever you might be feeling, the frustration, the anger, even if it's still the excitement from you playing so well in game number 1 and then having that situation in game number 2, all of that needs to subside. You need to dial back in and just go right back to why you're here, why you won the first golden ticket, or why you qualified through that stage 5, right?
Yes, for sure. And for those of you who are following along on event.clashroyale.com and got your votes in, if you haven't yet, well, now's still a little bit of time, I think, to lock those ones in. And maybe some of you are, you just lost out on some plays. Maybe you're sitting there going, yes, I get my second chance here at getting those big ones.
Yeah, it's not often when you get to kind of gamble for something and then they go, well, actually, we were wrong. So we're going to give you another shot. So for all you guys that maybe picked Doom, probably very, very happy whether you're at home or here in the arena. And what an incredible arena we have here. It's filled with some of the biggest names in Clash Royale. You and I are both a little starstruck, of course, when we see people that we've talked about for year after year after year. And also old friends, whether they be casters or people that we used to cast for back in the day.
Sure, yeah. Some of the biggest names in Clash Royale here. Champions of old and maybe champions of new. Of course, we have 16 people, one of whom will hoist a trophy this time. Of course, we do have one person who has a chance at repeating that championship in Mugi.
I mean, I just can't even fathom what that would be like to win back-to-back World Championships. So let's take a look here at the bracket, just to remind you guys for the action that's coming for the rest of the day here, and of course to remind you of what has already happened.
Oh yes, let's take a look at our bracket, open things up. It was Sandbox with a very nice 3-game win after a close game number 1. over Keith, who will drop down to the lower bracket. Sweep with a phenomenal performance, one of the most intellectual, most intelligent performances we've seen here so far, with a great build in game number 3. Lucas just running right through Aslan, and of course right now we're on that Dominic and Samuel matchup. But coming up on the back half of our first round, Morten with his 4th World Finals appearance.
Wow.
Mugi versus Vitor, and the one I'm really pumped about today, KK and Mohamed-Light.
Of course. I mean, you got the consensus greatest player in the world, but KK is a fan favorite and a favorite of pros out there, not just because of the great guy that he is, but he's always been exceptional. I mean, the first time that we ever heard his name was back when Juicy was winning $50,000, and they kept telling us over and over, KK is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and that was already, what, 4-ish years ago, and here he is at our World Finals. That's going to be an exciting one. And then to round out the day, you heard AC say it at the top of the show, good friends, but maybe turned rivals between Pandora and Air Surfer.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw that lower bracket, Aslan awaiting his opponent for the lower side of things. And if you are just joining us right now or forgot already, game number 1, it was Samuel Basoto taking the win here over Dominic, over Doom. And now we're going into game number 2 in just a couple of moments. And of course, Aslan doesn't know who he has yet. And honestly, I don't know who he'd rather face at this point.
I mean, that is a phenomenal point that you make. I mean, I think if you look at what has happened so far, I probably still would like to go to Doom. He's been just a little bit more predictable. And so here is exactly what we saw in game number 1. This is the very end of that game where it looked like there might be a second for Dominic to pop back into this, but not really. We knew Sam was going to lock it down. Those miners were just brilliant.
The miners were brilliant. The poison work on defense, slowing down that balloon. And yes, you do get this final freeze in, and that's the first time the freeze really got in effectively on an offensive push. We didn't see the freeze. There was one great opportunity early on to get back in the game. Not enough elixir for that freeze. Didn't happen, so just one step behind in game number 1. Will he get that step back in game 2?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about watching pros play this game. You know, one of the things we talked about sometimes is Mohamed-Light does certain things that might seem unorthodox, but then you watch him take the tower there. So I think we are actually hopping into game here in just a moment. We have both of our players at the stage. And there we go. Game number 2. All the drama behind us. Just back to good old-fashioned Clash Royale.
And game 2 starts similarly to the version that we got rid of, with a Royal Ghost in the back on one side, but Dominic now going with EQ to open things up.
And we see guards, and we see a baby dragon here early on. Samuel Basoto, though, maybe going, I'm not changing up too much. I'm sticking with the same 3 so far.
Look, it's a strong deck no matter what, and it's certainly that Lava Hound deck isn't the only good matchup for it. Cannon Cart does get on tower.
There we go. Early shots for Samuel.
And just going to go ahead and relax on this Mega Minion single swing, and now changing lanes is the Brazilian.
Doom does have the lead on that right-hand side, 25-79 to 26-28, but the couple Spear Goblin stab come in. Samuel back in the lead.
EQ plus arrows this time for Doom. So he does have some more powerful damage spells for the towers, and of course, the ability to work a little bit up in the air, but not, of course, the most powerful of our troop damage spells on either one.
You see they're stacking up in this left-hand lane as that EQ cycled on the right-hand side. Guards doing a perfect job against that Royal Ghost, and we'll see how Sam wants to respond here.
It does feel like he's still running the Executioner.
Yeah, I know. We both were looking for that Magic Archer to get on top of that bomb tower, but decides not to do it. And Goblin's getting more value once again.
Ewiz goes down. Is this going to be a Royal? No, it's Hog Rider.
It's Hog Rider.
Wow. And that Hog getting right to tower. NATO perfectly timed, but tanking for the baby dragon and the Mega Minion, so forced to play in the opposite direction as Samuel.
But look at that, aggressive at the bridge. Barbell comes in right behind. Nice play there on both sides, but Doom coming out at least on top of that interaction while Sam is still in the lead. 18-02 to 24-12, and aggressive Golden Knight at the bridge. This could be huge, Rich.
And it's Lava Hound. Golden Knight all over that tower. And just right into the same lane is the Lava Hound, so Lava Hog back. Looks like both players just deciding to go ahead and run back the same decks. Lava Hound plus Hog Rider push. Executioner there, ready for it all. Cannon Cart to hold. Do you NATO the Hog in or out? No, neither way. He just DPS that thing down quick.
13 seconds remaining here, and a lot of damage needed for Doom, so he decides to use that Golden Knight to kite everything back. Executioner doing it in style.
Wow.
3, 2,
Can it do it?
1.
Can it do it?
Tower
No,
not
it
down.
cannot. Samwell wins the run back and rights the ship.
And that has got to just be the craziest emotional up and down for both of these competitors. I don't really envy either of them. Yes, Samuel does pick up the win again, so I'm sure he's still happy, but I can't imagine how it feels for Doom right now.
Yeah, that's got to be a rough one, but you know, I don't know if he thought that he would have won it the first time around either. It was a pretty lockdown matchup either way, so we don't know how he feels. Maybe we'll find out how Samuel feels. Josh, what do you got for us?
Well, again, congratulations for the game number 2 victory. To go through all those emotions but still come out on top, how does it feel?
Parabéns mais uma vez por ganhar o segundo jogo, todas essas emoções, como você se sente?
Foi bem estranho, mas ainda bem que eu venci de novo. Eu tô muito feliz.
It was quite weird, but it's good that I won again. I'm very happy.
Absolutely. Congratulations again. Back to the casters.
Quite weird, I think, is the only thing you can say there.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to feel good to have pulled it out on the back end. Let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit of the action there from this last one. And, you know, it does feel like maybe they made an agreement to run the decks back, or they just both did. Not really sure how that went down.
It does seem like that was the case, not 100%. And if that was the case, I think Doom would probably be even more frustrated knowing that he was already in not a good matchup. But, you know, if that's the situation you're in, you didn't repeat a card, technically you have to go back into the situation that you drew up. But obviously probably not the prettiest way that it went down, but here we are. This is the push at the end. You see Sam throw up the CRL #1 here in just a moment. He knows he has it locked down, even though you and I got a little nervous for just a second.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot on the board there that felt like maybe it could slide on in at the last second, but once that Hog Rider got evaporated, there was no chance.
Yeah, the Hog Rider not getting on top of the tower, not getting that big time swing in, meant it was all over for Doom. Well, kind of, just in the upper bracket. He's still got a life to give, and it will be going up against Aslan, I do believe. So we have our first 2 lower bracket matchups set, and we already know at least 4 competitors where 2 of them will no longer be here tomorrow.
And that's the crazy part. You come all this way, you make it to World Finals, a potential day 1 exit. So if you thought we saw nerves earlier on, when we get down at the bottom, we'll see them big. But this might be the next big story here. Longtime friends,
yes,
Lucas X Gamer and Samuel Basoto facing off tomorrow in round 2.
Yeah, and this is funny because I was talking to our good friend Deco, and I believe he drew this up when he was predicting, and that is exactly the situation you do not want to be in as a Brazilian caster. They will live and die by their players, and unfortunately for him, one of them will be sent down in a little bit, and probably for a lot of people out there, I think they're 2 of the biggest favorites and the biggest names in the game.
Oh, sure. Definitely 2 top-tier players who know each other exceptionally well. So many hours of practice on the same side, so I'd be very curious to see how they sort that one out on stage. And then you talk about that lower bracket side of things. Man, the elimination bracket on day #1, we saw some nerves up there. You saw Sandbox's finger twitching and shaking in that game, able to pull it out, but talk about how these 4 guys will feel playing later today.
I mean, it's one of the things where last year so many people weren't happy about the first day being single elimination and what that meant, so here we go. Next year, 2022, we adapt, we evolve, we listen, we give you a life to give in day #1, but that doesn't mean that you're safe on day #1. 4 players will be eliminated today, and I guess, you know, if I flew all the way across the world and you gave me $20,000, I would just go back home and I wouldn't feel too bad about it, but that's me. That's not them.
You wouldn't feel terrible, but if you're saying, hey, I had to win 1 of 2 matches to make that $30,000, I think I prefer that a little bit. But you know what? We'll get to those matches later today. Right now, we have match number 5 on its way. Jackson, take us away.
Introducing the hardest working Clash Royale player and a 4-time world finalist, Morten.
So what I really like about Clash Royale, it's a really fun and speedy game, so you can play it everywhere. It's also my dream job, so I'm pretty happy to be here and also creating content for the game. And yeah, it's a really great opportunity, which I have. There might be a ton of surprises. If I win this competition, for sure I will donate like something to charity to support people which deserve more than me, in my opinion. I'm ready and I'm coming for the World Finals.
In a David and Goliath situation, making it here through the last chance qualifier, Ender G.
Mi nombre del juego es Ender G y soy de Venezuela. La verdad es que trato de no ponerme nervioso, de jugar lo más tranquilo posible y enfocarme puro en la partida, con full confianza de que puedo ganar lo que sea, y creo que eso ha sido una de las claves que he llegado aquí. Disfruto mucho el juego casual, que a veces es un poco estresante todo lo que tiene que ver con competitivo, pero me gusta mucho. Simplemente que gane el mejor.
And what a fascinating matchup we have here, as Juicy J said, tied for the world record with Elsiop, 4-time world finalist, and Morten up against a guy who has some experience in competitive play, did some back in No Tilt League Special Edition against you as well, and Ender G.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Morten is in a good position no matter who he plays. He is so talented, so collected, so calm. And on the opposite side, Ender, this is not the matchup you want. You don't want the guy that's been there 4 times. You want the guy who's fresh, who you can actually have a shot with when it comes to nerves. Right here, Morten, he doesn't get nervous.
Yeah, the most experienced stage player here at the game. And as you guys might see, Ender G playing from home, not able to make it here to Helsinki for this one. So as a reminder, there is fair play in effect. More on that later. Let's jump right in to our game number 1. And you hear the crowd response when Morten was announced, not just one of the best players in the game, but one of the most popular players in the community.
Yeah, everybody loves him. He's been streaming so much, 8 hours a day, probably an over-exaggeration, but a lot of the time. And he just has a great standing in the community with just about everyone.
And so Golden Knight on both sides to open up, and the executioner for Morten. It's interesting because Ender does play some lava, but usually as a snipe against cycle players, so maybe Morten going with this Xe variation early on, even though that's not necessarily what Ender does in game 1.
Yeah, right here, it is going to be an interesting matchup. We do see possibly the drill, but it still could be RG from Morten, still looking like drill. And on the opposite end, Ender, you do have to think that he's leaning towards RG.
Yeah, with those zappies in tow, certainly feels that direction. Ender and Morten pretty far apart so far in solo earnings. Morten 74,000 earnings so far as a solo player on top of what he did as a teams player. Ender, the 20,000 he's guaranteed so far, his first bag as a competitive Clash Royale player.
140 in the game. Morten has shown that he has used the drill. Ender still has not shown his win condition. Right there, the Golden Knight does get the dash on top of the Witch, but because the Golden Knight was placed just in time, it was able to protect it.
Royal Ghost takes care of business, picked up here by the Giant Skeleton as we have a minute 20 remaining in our regulation period, a few seconds away from double elixir time. And you know, with that 3-card cycle, that drill will start coming out faster and faster. Who do you give the advantage to, though, against this larger deck as we get later in the game?
Wow, and right there, the Ram Rider comes down. So because it's Ram Rider, I think I would still have to lean for Morten. If it was RG, that's when it gets really weird because we haven't seen the spell. Now with Ram Rider, the cannons, the Ice Spirits, the log delays, if he uses the Lightning or Earthquake, will be able to come out. Morten, I think, does have a strong advantage right now.
And now play transferring to the left-hand side of the board as the Golden Knight will pick up the Royal Ghost. A little chip damage from the log. First on that side for Morten.
Executioner does lock onto the Hog, so it won't be able to take out the Golden Knight just yet, but a clean swing of the axe, and it does clean up all the troops. Right now, Ender G's only, he's only just trying to stack. He's not trying to go for offense. He's waiting till late in double, waiting late in overtime, and then he could even just wait till triple elixir, just because it's hard to get past these kind of defenses.
Poison in, and now that Ram Rider is a nice path, but back to a cannon again is Morten to pick up that Ram Rider. Log no longer in cycle, though. Golden Knight to clean up and not let that connection happen.
1:55 left. We have hit overtime. 24:89 to 23:41. Only 150 HP separating the two players. Morten has done a brilliant job on defense.
But Ender G, he's just staying in there. This is what he wants.
73% win rate in his golden ticket attempt plays, so certainly put up some good numbers overall. And look, he might not be on paper the guy you think is the #1 or #2, but he did make it to World Finals. That's an accomplishment in itself.
Ghost will need to be defended. We do see the Golden Knight. Will he choose to go in with the dash? It will be able to hit a lot of troops if he uses it. And there we go. We do see the dash able to hit all the troops that he was looking for, and the Executioner to clean it up.
Little zappy chip on the right-hand side, 10 seconds away from triple elixir, and we'll see how much Morten takes advantage of that 3-card cycle with the drill as we get to the end. And this Mother Witch going into the bridge fight here, maybe opening up an opportunity for him.
Yeah, I'm really shocked that we have not seen Ender's final card. I'm thinking it has to be a small spell, but those are going to do well against the drill. So still just continuing to cycle all his main troops and not that last card.
And keep in mind, no big spell here for Morten. So if we're talking spell cycle there at the very end, gonna be a tall order there against Poison, as the Poison does finally give Ender the lead with 33 seconds left.
Executioner placed down. He is going to try and win the bridge battle. We are going to see drill after drill after drill, and logs followed as well.
Does Morten get the connection? And he does! Big time connection! 18 seconds left, and he takes the 400 HP lead.
That Executioner plus the log plus the second Executioner is doing work. 1893 to 1392. Morten should take this game.
Wow, this felt like it was slipping out of his fingers. Morten gets the great NATO connection with that Golden Knight. GG, well played. Morten wins game #1.
I mean, it was anybody's game until the very final 30 seconds, but just one play was required. A brilliant defense was the Xe NATO, the second Xe coming out, and then the drill on the tower.
Wow, what a great come from behind. Stayed in the pocket, did Morten, didn't lose his cool. You know, you see so many times, even at a high level with the nerves there, the NATO being placed a tile or two off and not chaining that Golden Knight to the tower. We saw that in the waning weeks of the LCQ as well happen. Morten not making that mistake, getting on tower, big time win.
Yeah, I just love how he played that game, and right here we are going to go into the replay. This is going to be the moment that we all loved seeing. The Golden Knight does get the dash on top of all the troops, on top of all the towers, getting it down to 1450. Just needs one more defense, and it was those Xes plus logs plus the second Xe.
And now we get into a really interesting question as we start game #2, and that's that deck picking portion. Morten has been working with Julesy, who helped lead Mohamed Light to a second-place finish at Worlds last year, known for being a solid coach, but Morten's up there on his own, and this has always been sort of the question, is how does Morten make those picks into game 2 and game 3 and beyond? On the other side of it, Ender is known for being a kind of by-the-numbers picker. Log is out, you play bait. NATO's out, you play hog. They're both off the board.
Yeah, I think for Morten, though, you do have to give, obviously, with the Game 1 victory, the advantage goes to Morten. But still, when you've won Game 1, that's what you're really preparing for. You don't want to have to prepare for that Game 1 loss.
Sure.
You want to set yourself up where you can just win Game 2 after. Ender, obviously, he did lose Game 1. He is by the numbers, and so this is obviously a very tough spot for him.
And it's to show how well-known Morten is. A lot of our votes today have been fairly close from the community, 55-45. Even if you felt like maybe they were probably a larger margin, Morten, no questions there, 74% voting for Morten in that matchup.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it wasn't even more. I could have seen 80, I could have seen 85, I could have seen 90. So it does not shock me that we did see that 70.
And taking their time here, 2 minutes between each game to go ahead and make those deck picks, make those changes. And of course, you know, we were talking about Ender being kind of a down-the-line deck picker. If you're in Ender's corner, are you going hog, are you going bait, or are you trying to theory craft something totally different?
I think you always have to go with the theory craft. I think that's always going to be the spot. And I really do think that when you have a month to prepare, a week to prepare, you can set yourself up for a game 2.
Well, let's go ahead and check things out as we jump into game #2. On the deck picking side for Morten, it's pretty well understood that Julesy will have a clear plan for him in games 1 and game 2. The questions then do rise if we do make it to game 3, what happens? But at the moment, expect some pretty solid work here out of the duo.
Ender defending with the Mighty Miner. He is going to go Mighty Miner Drill instead of the Mighty Miner Bait. We saw Bait all the time when it was the Giant Skeleton and the Mirror running rampant throughout the meta, but because of that nerf, it's no longer as scary as it used to be.
And you see Log and NATO both out, so Ender going Drill here, and those spears get a nice little buff too with Log being off the board. We'll see what the small spell situation here is for the German SK Gaming player.
A lot of pressure coming in from Ender G. Morten will be able to Skarmy on top of the Spear Goblins and doesn't get the split. I'm sure he was looking to try and split them onto the Drill, onto the Spear Goblins at the bridge, but doesn't work out that time. Forced to use the Bar Barrel as well.
Lots to feed that Skeleton King here with the Bats and the Skarmy as well. Mortar comes out. This deck was very popular about 2-3 months ago, has fallen a bit out of favor, but of course everybody knows Morten likes running Miner.
That's right. Anytime he can fit a Miner in the deck, you know it's going to be out there. Fire Spirit does jump onto absolutely nothing, so an unfortunate interaction for Ender. Inferno Tower is going to come out as well as the Snowball, so we could see a little bit of pressure depending on what's next, or we could just see the reset. And there we go. We do see the pressure. Miner in the back to take out the Spear Goblins.
What a Miner. What a Miner. Getting on the tower, taking off the spears, connecting that Musketeer, and Morten opens up a big lead with 1:13 left in regulation.
No activation from the Mighty Miner. Is he going to be able to place a card in time? The Skarmy does come out, and the Mighty Miner will get the activation. So it is a 1-for-3, a good spot right there, but obviously still down 750 HP.
And Skarmy just really shuts down that Mighty Miner in these situations. Gotta wonder if maybe Morten was putting Ender on bait with that one. Of course, has the Bar Barrel plus the Skarmy. Works out well here too.
Skeleton King on top of the Drill. The Miner in... Okay, the Miner in the back, not going to do any damage. The Snowball on defense from Ender. And so 700 still separating the two players. Will he try to get the activation? Bats and Spear Goblins will clean this up nicely.
That Musketeer, though, certainly a factor in this one and playing the Skarmy way in the back. Snowball to clean up, Bar Barrel well timed, and keeping that Muskie alive except for those Spear Goblins.
We just see continuing to use the Skeleton King in the back, trying to set up for that one good push. He just can't set up the right push. And right here, this might be it. Musketeer fully healthy.
Did not get the Musketeer with the Fireball. Just a half tile off there. This could be a whole lot of trouble. Bats to pick up the Miner. That's gonna be some significant damage. Mortar, can it break through and connect?
The Bats on defense from Ender are so troublesome. Right there, the Fireball does go on top of most of the Bats, but still there. Musketeer to protect the Mortar. Left side almost got damaged, but not quite. And this game is getting kind of close. It's getting closer as this game goes on.
That Musketeer just a little bit too close to the Mortar, giving value for that Fireball. So Ender getting a nice little value play to get himself back in this game.
Yeah, and the Bats on defense from Ender are getting value every time. But on the opposite end, Morten, it's never getting value. He's always able to snowball Bats plus something, and that's just so dangerous when Morten has to defend in the triple elixir moments.
And really good patience there not to pop the ability on the Skeleton King, knowing that with the Musketeer's support, it would survive that fight with the Mighty Miner. And so now it's time to pressure the opposite direction. Snowball does not take care of all those skeletons with this drill push, but a lot of damage coming in. They escape, and now it's Ender in the lead with 56 seconds left.
Again, getting aggressive, 54 seconds left. Skeleton King's ability is 50% of the way there. Will it be able to stop the Goblins before it gets any chip? No. Goblins chip it down to 1209.
This Goblin chip is turning into a real problem here on the later end. Skelly King pops the ability early, not early enough to avoid the Inferno Tower play, but now Miner in, Fireball to support. That's gonna be a lot of damage for the Miner. Snowball to predict, does not get the Skarmy. He should be able to clean up against this Goblin drill with 24 seconds left.
These Musketeers need to be cycled in the middle time and time again. The Bats plus the Spear Goblins over the middle of the board are so dangerous. Mortar gets the shot, this is the push.
Does stop those Goblins. Fireball in. Miner on the tower. 2:47 remaining, and that's too big of a gap for Ender to overcome. He waves the white flag, and Morten's gonna go 2-0 in his first World Finals match.
Brilliant. brilliantly played throughout the match. I thought that it kept getting closer and closer, and that could have spelled trouble, but not for Morten. He was okay with that. Once triple elixir happened, it really was those bats on defense. The bats on defense were so hard to break through.
Yeah, that just could not be avoided for him. And in the end, Morten, it was the cycle back and forth, able to hold on very nicely, took some drill damage, but then it was the Skeleton King cleaning things up at the end.
Yeah, and right there, just Ender G, he did his best, but I think I needed to see a little bit more pressure throughout the middle. The bats and spear goblins were just too powerful in that matchup to let it wait till that triple elixir.
Well, let's go ahead down to the floor where Jackson is standing by with Morten.
That was a very close match. Do you have any pointers for any other players out there on how to stay calm during something like that?
I mean, I'm like really experienced, so it for sure helps, but it was just like practicing matchups, practicing decks, and like just playing what you're comfortable with.
My other question is, how are you feeling? Just generally, how are you feeling after that match? Are you excited? Are you pumped? Are you confident in your next matches?
I'm just pretty happy because like everybody was expecting me to win, so I had to win. So I'm just really happy, and also thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it.
You heard it from Morten. You hear the crowd. Let's send it back to the caster's desk.
You know, the question we've talked about a lot is the confidence on the live stage, and you heard it right here. No concern for the most experienced man in this competition.
Yeah, and this is what we expected. I think it was when he had to talk about who was going to be in the finals, he said, of course, it has to be me, and then it has to be one other person. So it's what we expect from game number one.
Well, great work cycling back around to those cannons over and over again to control those Ram Riders. Morten doing a great job also adjusting in game number two. And I love this deck pick from Morten because it felt like it countered all of the different options that were likely for Ender in this second game.
Yeah, deck number two, you have to look at the bar barrel. The bar barrel is the scary part because if your opponent has bats and they use them correctly and you overextend, you are in trouble. But that's why he waited till triple elixir, and that's why once the game was close, but then he recognized that he could go Miner Fireball, and he wasn't able to stop the Miners.
Well, he was able to get some damage there for Morten. And Andrew joining us on the desk. I know if there's one thing you must have loved, it was seeing one of the greatest players in the world throwing some mortar on the board.
I'm pretty sure my telestration is just going to be me zooming in on the mortar over and over and over again. So happy to hear Morten pick up this game. And of course, you know, the advice is you have to go to 4 World Finals in a row to have that level of confidence. Let's take a look here at the tape of game number 2 as things broke down. I mean, really what is all about is what's happening right here and what's happening right here. Yes, there's a battle going on at the bridge, but as you guys saw over and over again, it was about how you defended the drills and how you defended these pushes from the miner. Fireball comes in and gets a ton of value right there. Snowball comes in, and that's the biggest thing, right? The snowball comes in right here, and it's just low. And it's so hard because you know the Skarmy's gonna come down, right? You know 100% it is, but you wanna hit the whole thing, but you need to make sure that first goblin gets some value. So I love that play there from Ender. He's doing absolutely everything he can, but if there's one guy that can defend at the bridge, clean up a goblin bear or a goblin drill, and then get minor damage in, it's Morten. And he always changes his defense. I'm gonna pause again because I can't. I'm gonna just sit here all afternoon and break this down. You guys are never gonna get me off this desk. Look at this. So he goes, all right, what is gonna happen? Well, I probably shouldn't play Skarmy again. I don't even know if it's back in cycle. I don't really care. I'm gonna go Skeleton King instead because that's what Morten does. I watch him stream every day. I watch his videos, and I absolutely 100% know this is a man that you cannot expect to play the same defense twice in a row. GG's, well played. Happy you're moving on, my friend.
Well, you saw those adjustments too. I love that you brought up that snowball because the adjustments on defense from Morten. The Skarmy was consistently played behind tower and then walked up here. So a bit shocking that the Ender didn't make the adjustment to put that snowball down behind tower rather than always in front.
I mean, the nerves, man. The nerves are going to get to you. Whether you're here in Helsinki or if you're at home for Ender, you're still playing against Morten in the biggest match of your entire career.
Well, of course, we will see more from Morten tomorrow when he comes back in that upper bracket. But for now, we have our next matchup. Jackson, take it away.
One of, if not the most talented Clash Royale players in the world and the defending world champion, Mugi.
私の名前は麦です。去年の世界チャンピオンで今年も優勝しに来ました。やは り去年よりももっと強い選手がたくさん出てきているので、そこを倒すことが一番難しいかなと思います。
Introducing the pride of Portugal, another 2021 world finalist, Vitor 75.
It was always a dream of mine to play on a LAN event and on a big stage. I usually play 3, 4, or 5 hours a day, and I usually watch a lot of pro players practice, and I learn a lot by watching. I want to thank everyone for supporting me, and stay tuned for this weekend. It's going to be really cool.
And there we have the third member of that Young Pain Gaming squad that was so underrated in 2020. Well, they made World Finals then, and then of course now we've already seen 2 with Sweep and Lucas going on to the next round. Can Vitor make it number 3? Well, he has a defending world champ in front of him.
Yeah, this is going to be obviously a tough match for him. Mugi, he was able to finish 4th in Brenchok, 6th in Queso, 2nd in the Masters, and number 1 in the Royale Masters. He has had quite the run, and he is just so talented. My favorite set of all time, in as long as we don't include World Finals matchups, because there's been some great ones, but him against Wallace, just the best match I've ever seen.
Well, we'll see if he has more of that magic here. Let's jump into it. Mugi trying to defend that world title right now against Vitor. Mugi top of your screen, Vitor at the bottom. And now you've talked a lot about so far today the total career winnings. And Mugi is the 2nd winningest player in this tournament today at 240,551 in solo prize money so far. A big portion of that courtesy of his championship last year.
Yeah, it's easy to be in the top 3 when you have a number 1 behind you in a world competition.
So Mortar Miner for Vitor here in game number 1. He usually plays this with Archer Queen, opting for the Musketeer instead, and that Royal Giant getting some early damage for Mugi.
Yeah, I loved how Vitor defended that. No Mortar in cycle, so he has to play the guards up top, Mighty Miner low, and the Ice Spirit to take the aggro of the Fisherman. I think he did what he could with what he had. It obviously wasn't perfect, but I think anybody else would have taken a lot more damage.
You know, a lot of people would say that the Mortar does a great job countering against these Royal Giant decks, but of course you do have this other piece in here with the Fisherman able to pull through everything early on. How do you feel about this matchup?
Right here, because he has the Mighty Miner plus the Ice Spirit, I think it's probably fairly good for Vitor. I don't know if it's more than a 60-40, but just because he has the Mortar, he has the Mighty Miner, and the Ice Spirit, a 1 Elixir card, is definitely game-changing in this matchup.
Sets up Royal Ghost in the back. Does Mugi, who, of course, has been very popular for a long time, came out initially as one of the top ladder pros before he turned 16. 89.03 personal best on ladder.
The Mortar is able to protect the Musketeer, but I don't think the Musketeer is going to do that much. Miner not able to get there in time. So while this Mighty Miner is protected, it's not going to be able to reach the tower. Will he activate the bomb? And we do see it. 55 seconds left, 22:54 to 18:12.
Smart play by Vitor there. He knew, we all knew, not going to get much from that drill being carried by the Mighty Miner, so might as well go ahead and get that bomb damage. The question is, was it worth the Elixir spend?
Yeah, I think he needed to do that. He just needed to get back in the game. It's so hard for these Mortar decks, once it's very close, to get that final bit of damage if you're behind. So because he's only behind 400, he's in an okay spot now.
That Log Electro Spirit to clean up and get everything out of the way of that Musketeer for the Fisherman. Very nicely played by Mugi, and it's not often you see in the first 3 minutes 2 Royal Giants on the board.
That's right, and both of these previous Royal Giants going down the right lane, so he's really just trying to set it up so that way he can go RG opposite lane, Mighty Miner in the left side, but now we could see the ability be used and plopped onto the right side. I want to see it, but I don't think we're going to.
The high Mortar to hold on, Ice Spirit to slow things down for a little bit. Royal Giant with the log plus Hunter. That's a ton of damage. Lightning in, and just like that, Mugi is way out ahead.
209, no lightning in hand, but that's not going to matter. He is down too much elixir. Vitor is 209. He's just 2 cards away, 0 cards away. Lightning, Mugi taking game number 1.
I mean, that was just a masterclass in micro. And the way that Mugi was winning those fights at the bridge, getting to that Musketeer, penetrating into those defenses, that was just beautiful Clash Royale.
Yeah, I've been trying to emulate the pros recently, and I understand you're supposed to go RG opposite lane so you can have the RG on the tower that you actually want, but it's not really fun. That's not what I want. I want to spam everything at the bridge. Right there, I knew that it was going to come down. He just kept cycling the RGs on the right lane. He finally got 1 RG in the left, no Mighty Miner on defense, and it was too easy for him to take that tower.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of that action here from game number 1. Talk about things to emulate. This is some brilliant play here. Vitor does the right thing. Cycles back to that mortar, slows down the RG with the Ice Spirit. This log comes in, and then the counter log plus the Hunter shot just evaporates those guards, and that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, just a gorgeous set of interactions right there. The log plus the Hunter, and then the lightning. I know for a fact the miner comes down, boom, lightning strikes. It was just a 1-2 punch right there, and Mugi was able to win what I thought was a very difficult matchup, but he was just able to win it fairly easily.
Let's go ahead and take a look at your predictions. And again, talking about some of those well-known players. Well, you win a world championship and people know your name. Almost 70% of you picking Mugi in this matchup. Vitor, certainly a live underdog, though.
Yeah, absolutely. He has 3 straight years of World Finals experience. Every single year, it just improves on his own gameplay, you know, the team behind him. And, you know, just when you have such a positive attitude that he has, you're going to gain more fans. It's crazy to say, but now that we have fans back in the stadium, you want people cheering behind you, and he's going to get that.
And now you're trying to figure out what they do here in game number 2. It's Vitor typically more of like a heavy cycle player, right? He plays stuff that's meant to get around a lot, but he's not talking about those quick, low, fast cycle decks. Whereas Mugi, that's a guy who has a deck pool as deep as the ocean.
That's right. The control quick cycle is always great to see from Vitor because he just plays them so well. And Mugi, you just don't know what you're going to get. We might even see a Lumber Loon in an important match that could potentially come
Has that happened before with him? A Lumber Loon and a Freeze maybe at some point?
I do remember. Remember one game like that.
Well, we'll see in a couple moments here if they are ready to go. And I believe we've got word. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Game number 2 between Mugi and Vitor. You know, we talk about the ladder play of Mugi with that 8.9K. No slouch himself, Vitor, 86.77 personal best on ladder. And talk about fast cycle here, Josh. Minor wall breakers most likely.
Yeah, we do see the wall breakers plus the Dark Goblin plus the Skarmy. Skarmy will be able to defend everything properly. A slight elixir advantage for Mugi. And Vitor on the opposite end, we could be seeing a lightning deck. We could be seeing anything. And there we go. We do see the ghost. So right now, opening, I'm looking at MK, but it could be something else.
Well, MK is certainly part of what Vitor likes to play, and Mugi often himself goes to the MK decks versus cycle players, but of course we're seeing Vitor drop the Mega Knight.
Wallbreaker's opposite lane, and I love this pressure, and I think Mugi loves that damage, getting the tower down to 2268. You see the Wallbreakers connect in the first minute. It's never really something you want when you are Vitor. And right here, another Ice Spirit used. Will he be able to defend that? With the drill, it should be easy enough.
And that Inferno Tower, definitely a nice call here for Mugi against this deck, but you saw the other part about that drill, and you know, some players at home, especially if you're in the 4,000-ish trophy range, you feel like the win condition has to go on tower over and over and over again. Drill is versatile, and it is also, as you just saw, a piece of defense.
Right here, Skeleton King is going to cross the bridge, activating the ability. Archer Queen plus E-Spirit is going to defend that very nicely. A great defense from Vitor, and an overextension on Mugi's end. I don't think he got enough value from that. This should be a very difficult match, or a difficult situation for him.
Oh, and the Ghost goes back to the other side. If that Ghost had joined the Ram Rider, that might have been a completely game-changing moment. Instead, Mugi kind of gets away here and eats some damage, gives up the lead, but that could have been significantly worse.
I'm really shocked that he went so aggressive right before Double Elixir happened. He has the Inferno Tower. He knows with his deck that he can get as aggressive as he wants in triple. Kind of surprising to see a mistake like that made from him.
That was a really great Electro Spirit out of Vitor to control that Skeleton King. And now it feels like momentum is shifting towards the Pride of Portugal.
That's right, nothing to protect the Inferno Tower. Lightning plus MK will happen, but we do see the King Tower activation. Not going to panic. Will he go in with the drill again? I love that prediction snowball from Vitor. He would have been able to win the game had the Skarmory been played.
What a great pickup there by Mugi. He saw that coming a mile away, had the King Tower activation perfectly set up there against the Mega Knight, and saved what could have been a bad situation. But let's keep in mind, as we go into sudden death, it is Vitor ahead by almost 300 HP.
Right there, the Ghost surviving with 0.08 health. It does force out the Ice Spirit in response. Ram Rider on top of the drill. Bandit to help out on the defense. And the Skeleton King's activated ability is able to take the Mega Knight completely out.
And not able to stop that Dart Goblin in full as the Mega Knight. So now Mugi getting some good damage on the left-hand side, putting dual lane pressure as the wall breakers follow the skeletons that are also feeding that Skeleton King on the left-hand side. And just like that, the lead swings back to Mugi.
Beautiful pressure overextension from Vitor, and he recognized it immediately. The wall breakers for 2 Elixir have been so valuable for him. And just the fact that he's using the drill on defense every single time, just beautiful awareness. I don't see that ever.
The Electro Spirit really has been the MVP so far for Vitor, cleaning up a whole lot, but now giving up a ton of damage on the left-hand side. So both towers for Vitor now under 1,000 HP as we go into triple Elixir. Will the drill wall breakers carry the day, or can Vitor find one more way through and get this game back?
Triple Elixir is so valuable for these Ram Rider decks, but on the opposite end, it's just as valuable for the quick cycle. Inferno Tower comes out. He does defend that very easily. Nothing in cycle. The Bandit does get the dash, but that's okay. He can tank damage on the left side. He just needs to worry about the right now.
And another great Electro Spirit out of Vitor. Wants to stop these wall breakers, drill in. Queen goes the right direction, snowball to support, but 592 left. This really is the last moment for Vitor.
No Inferno Tower coming down the left side. Will get down to 1137. Skarmory is going to come down. 869, 958. Right now, Bandit gets the dash.
The Bandit gets the dash. 10 seconds left. Can the drill do it? Wallbreaker's trying to get there. Bandit does not pick up. Oh my God, the Wallbreaker connects, and Mugi gets the win.
The Ghost was right on the tower. He would have been able to Ghost lightly. Not gonna matter. Mugi with the fireball, with the drill, gets the tower.
Unbelievable. It really felt like Vitor had stolen game number 2 and was sending us to game number 3, but Mugi just stays focused. Look at the crowd. They cannot believe it.
I thought that he was giving up too much damage on the left side. The Skarmory delayed, but I mean, I like what he was doing right there. Min-maxing, he gets the Skarmory on top of the Mega Knight plus the Ghost. The Bandit does squeak by, but he had enough time. Great awareness. Again, obviously with Mugi, he's such a special player. Awareness of the time and just management.
Big first match win. Let's go to the floor and hear from our defending world champion.
I noticed in that match you used dual lane pressure a lot. Is there a main reason for that?
2つ目の試合の時に両方のレーン、両方のタワーにプレッシャーした戦術と決めましたけれども、これはどのような理由でしょうか？
サイドに振ることによって相手が混乱すると思ったのでそうしました。サイドに振ることで相手が困惑すると思ったのでやりました。
I thought he's gonna just miss some things when we go like both sides, and he's gonna go like get flustered. So that's why I decided on it.
Absolutely. How are you feeling after that match?
どのような気持ちでしょうか？一言感想お願いします。
とりあえず嬉しいです。
Well, for now, I'm very happy about it.
Absolutely. That's me for the interview. Back to the caster's desk.
Well, happy for now, indeed. Of course, this was the result everyone expected, maybe except for Vitor, Mugi winning match number 1, you know, defending world champion, but not just that, definitely considered one of the top 3 players on the planet for the last couple of years.
Yeah, his run since he's just turned old enough to play has been legendary. Has not fallen off, still playing ladder whenever he needs to. I mean, that's how he started, and then ever since then, competitive, it's been so easy for him. We don't get to say that about a lot of players.
Let's take a look at the decks. Here it was, game number 1. Vitor had a lot of tools here against this Royal Giant. What was the key for Mugi winning here?
It really came down to improper usage of the Mighty Miner. I think that he needed to activate the ability. It had to go to the right side. Instead, he allowed it to get pulled by the Fisherman. And once Mugi had the push going, he gets the great timing with the log on top of the guards, plus the lightning. Once he had a good situation, it was easy for him.
And then here we go into game number 2. And Mugi just with a really brilliant crafted deck here, right? You have the drill wall breakers, very popular. You have everything being fed to that giant skeleton, but the 2 big factors here, the Inferno Tower on defense, and that Dark Goblin was serious on offense.
It provided so much value so many times. It was able to get to the tower. And then also the drill on defense. It was cool.
Yes.
We don't get to see the Inferno Tower plus the drill. 2 defensive buildings.
Well, let's go take a look at some of the action from that last one as Mugi takes care of business. And this was that final, we're getting close to that final sequence, the last 30 seconds left. Mugi pretty significantly ahead here, but check out how close this gets with that Mega Knight on the left-hand tower and the Ram Rider pushing to the right. But it's this brilliant snowball from Vitor, the Bandit Dash, just right there, considering the lightning. It felt like Vitor might have stolen this one.
Right, I mean, just brilliant play right there. And the Ghost was about to get to the tower, but it doesn't matter. Mugi able to overwhelm the right side. I really thought that it was going to be giving up too much, but looking back at that replay, he had to delay the skeleton army. And Vitor had to get the prediction snowball. Both players made plays they had to do, and it just wound up on top for Mugi.
And one more thing there at the end, that drill popping, pushing the troop back away, making a little gap for the wall breaker to get through, right? So the drill having that little bit of a poof as it comes on through, and that was severely impactful. And now you have Mugi getting a massive win, the most important win, really the first one, because once you get that one, think about, we talked about, I don't know if we can see the bracket at this moment, but you talk about that bracket, how short the road is if you keep winning for a world championship, and the earlier you lose, just how long that gets, because that first, if you win in the upper bracket, well, it's just 3 more match wins and suddenly I'm the champion. Whereas on the bottom side of it, it turns into, you gotta go outside, you gotta take your shoes off, put new shoes on, trudge the snow, go on a long quest, come back, and hope that you can go all the way through a bracket reset for a championship.
Yeah, you never want to have to go through the lower bracket, especially with the caliber of players that we see here today. And I just love that it doesn't look like the nerfs are getting to any of these players. We are seeing spectacular plays.
Well, next up, we have one of the most anticipated matches of the day. Andrew, let's get into it.
He was top 3 in 2 of our monthly finals last season. He says if he wins the $250K, he wants to buy a fast car. Making his 3rd consecutive World Finals appearance, it's KK!
KK です。世界大会をとても楽しみにしています。いろんなデッキを使えるので、何のデッキを使うか予測できないところが怖いポイントだと思います。ファンの皆様へ、世界大会はきっと最高のものが見れると思います。
The winner of 3 golden tickets, 2nd place in the world in 2021. The consensus, undisputed, greatest player in the game. It's Mohamed Light!
Well, when I'm playing, I think about like 3 things. I think about my opponent's cycle, I think about their elixir, and I think about like their gameplay, what they're trying to do. Like there are some plays that they could do which indicates me what the next play will be, so I try to play according to that, and it helps me beat bad matchups too. Like it's a way I have myself, it helps me a lot. Play your game, do your best, and may the best player win.
And here we are with the most anticipated match of the day. Two worldwide favorites on one side. KK started his career with GameWith back in 2018, a longtime CRL pro. And on the other side, the man in the golden chair, the Prince of Egypt himself. Everyone wants to see what Mohamed Light does on the big stage.
Absolutely. You know, nerves are a big factor. KK does have that live experience. Mo Light, not as much, but based on what I've seen so far, he's feeling pretty confident.
Well, very confident. If you're Mohamed Light, you understand why. Let's waste no time. Let's jump right into it. KK and Mohamed Light. And here we go. KK spent plenty of time playing in live events during his CRL team's career. Mohamed Light, everyone talks about him like he is, like he's already a legend with the level of gameplay. The big question is, what is he feeling right now on stage?
I mean, he goes for the Ice Spear, he goes for the Miner. He's feeling all right now. He's leaking Elixir. He's waiting for his opponent to make a play. I respect that. Pigs are coming down. How's he going to feel?
Guard to the right-hand side, cannon to the left. Gonna eat a little bit of damage here early on. Miner wall breakers, the original one-trick deck for Mohamed Light.
Yep, very good. I'm not sure if he's using wall breakers this time. Maybe more of a control variation with these guards. Very, very optimal card to have for defense.
And the Piggies plus the EQ here for KK. We'll see if he's running Archer Queen, and yes, he is.
Archer Queen versus Archer Queen. I want to say on this bottom, I'm just trying to figure out what it is. He has a giant skeleton. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe just control in general, or maybe a balloon come out from Mo here.
And that's a nice bomb deep in there, but the AQ for Mo's not going to quite connect. Even without that, though, the scores here pretty close to each other. 27-58 on Mo's bottom right-hand tower, 27-62 on the top left-hand side.
Yeah, I think this is a close matchup here. I think the Miner is generally going to be a little bit more consistent in damage, but all it takes is one huge Pigs connection for KK to really turn it to his favor.
Giant skeleton left-hand lane, both these players playing Cannon. Of course, Cannon has been such a central part of the meta for a while, and we'll see with some of the work-in-progress deck balances if that maybe changes next time around. And the high cannon does get hit by the EQ. That's gonna be a lot of Piggies on through to the right-hand side.
Yep, Royal Delivery is going to come down late, but once again, those Pigs are making it to the tower, and they do a lot of damage. Queen ability coming out a little bit late from KK on the left. Mo's going to use his own, but Royal Delivery cleaned that out quite nicely, and KK is on point with these Miner catches.
Yeah, that's a nice cannon pickup, and now the pressure back in again. This time, Mo going a little bit farther out with that cannon, picking up most of those Pigs. One connects, but the lead starting to open up for KK here as we are just 18 seconds away from sudden death.
Yeah, Mo's just not playing as optimally as we normally see it. He went for the anti-earthquake cannon there. He tried to push that one Pig over the Ice Spirit, but just a little bit too late.
And as the Queen goes to her ability, Miner does turn for a little bit of damage here. Poison will help out as well. Log force to be played against that Queen, so right now Mo does have about a 1 Elixir lead, but is behind on damage.
He goes for the early cannon here, predicting the Pigs. He gets it. He goes for the Ice Spirit. That's going to push it over. But a quick cannon from KK is going to allow the defensive cannon to get taken out quite nicely. And there's that Pig connecting a little bit once again. Here comes the counter push, though.
Even an Elixir, but way more on the board with that Archer Queen. This feels like it's Mohamed Light's big moment. Can he get a good breakthrough here? Queen working up high against the push. The Miner plus Poison doing some pretty significant damage, and it is Mohamed Light who now roars back into this game, but the Pigs push on the right-hand side.
Cannon and Royal Delivery on defense. Earthquake coming down a little bit late, and those Pigs are gone. Now at this point, Mohamed Light is in a pretty good situation. All he needs to do is have good defense, utilize his Queen 3-card cycle to get multiple Poisons and Miners down on the board as we head into Triple Elixir.
Pigs to the right-hand side. slow down a little bit. Will delivery get there? It's a cannon to pick up. Log gets the cannon off the board. Guards plus delivery mitigates most of that, but damage done. Down under 900 HP right now is the right-hand side for Mohamed-Light, and now Poison just ticks a bit on that Archer Queen, but more importantly, working on that left-hand tower.
What I really think is the big mistake here is the queen on the left side. I think you want to play on the right side, block up this lane, get your 3-card cycle rolling, and play as many minors and poisons as possible.
Minor poison down. 708 is the mark he has to surpass right now. Archer Queen taken care of. Most of the pigs do go over to that cannon and then picked up. 546 on the right-hand side. EQ doing its job. Final 18 seconds.
Poison drops here. Those Ice Spirits are always catching those minors. Miner does get one shot. Pre-cannon once again. Are we going to see the push over? We do. Earthquake and Log come down. 8 seconds left.
Miner in. Pre-skeletons. Catch the Miner. Miner goes bye-bye. EQ gets it done. KK takes game number 1.
Wow, I did not expect that. I think that Mo could have made a lot of more optimal plays there. And like I said, I think the biggest mistake was not playing the Archer Queen on defense. Use the Archer Queen on defense, get the 3-card cycle rolling, and play the poisons before the Miner. A lot of the time in a Miner Poison matchup like this, you want to play the poison first, Miner second, and cycle back to that poison super fast.
You got to wonder now how Mo recovers here after that one. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay of those final moments, and we're going to see some very important skeletons out of KK in this one.
Guards down on the defense here. Log trying to get some chip on the left here. Once again, very nice pickup on the Miner with the Ice Spirit. Miner gets one shot, and notice he plays the poison after. If you can cycle the poison first and get back to it a little bit quicker, that can make a huge difference. And at this point, once again, Skeleton's coming down, Ice Spirit coming down, Miner's not connecting, and the Earthquake is going to secure the victory.
Skeleton's just there so early, and the poison not there early enough to help that Miner. Not very effective for the Miner there at the end, and so now you have it. You get that big first win for KK. Went with the Hog, with the Piggies, the Hogs AQ, EQ. Got a nice one there on the other side of it. Miner poison now out for Mohamed-Light. This gets really interesting for the deck crafting portion in game number 2.
Absolutely. I think we're going to see some drill, maybe potentially some RG. But you never know. Mohamed-Light's favorite win condition, or most used win condition, is Royal Giant. So maybe we'll see that come in the second game.
A very deep deck pool overall, of course. Mohamed-Light, phenomenal micro. But what we just saw there was a great understanding of what he had to do to win out of KK. Because you talked about that 3-card cycle. That was on both sides. And the 3-card cycle with that EQ, that Log, that felt like it got around a lot faster than the Miner poison cycles.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the time, Mo was using his cycle cards before he played his Miner or poison. And when you're doing that, you're not able to cycle back quick enough. But also it is because of KK applying pressure at the right times. Mo was constantly forced to use one of his cycle cards on defense for the pigs to push it over to his cannon.
Yes, I don't know if we can take a look at the decks from game number 1 if we do have those available, but you talk about the building for game number 2 and beyond. Spells such a critical factor. Log out, the most important one maybe, on the side of KK. So we'll go ahead and see if that does end up a factor here in game number 2 as we jump on in. With Archer Queen out on both sides, how much does that nerf Lightning as far as your deck building goes from here?
Honestly, quite a bit. There's really not a good use for Lightning when the Archer Queen is out. Obviously, you can pick up maybe a Musketeer or something like this, but Mo with the Tombstone, this is definitely not something you want to use Lightning against, but we might actually see it from KK. Potentially a Royal Giant deck, yes.
And the Mother Witch out behind this Skeleton King. Interesting combination where you kind of have a dual synergy as she takes them off the board and creates offensive pressure. She also feeds that Skeleton King.
Absolutely. So it looks like we might be actually seeing a RG mirror match right now. RG in the back from Mo. RG at the bridge from KK, though.
Very aggressive bar barrel to take out the Hunter, but bats are all over that. Zappy's trying to help, but they're totally distracted. And that Royal Giant is going to get a ton of value on the right-hand side.
It's still not being targeted by the Zappies quite yet. It gets one final shot before retargeting to that tombstone. Now there's a kind of push from Mo. What does KK have for this? He gets the Fisherman down. He gets the E-Spear to connect on absolutely everything. So much value there. Archie actually switches targeting, which is so good for him. And once again, the Fisherman going to get even more value pulling that Skelly King.
That Fisherman is doing so much right now for KK. And, you know, you talk about making picks as games go on. KK going RG Fireball rather than RG Lightning, which is what he usually does. And you have the Zappies and the Mother Witch. Lots of great targets for that Fireball.
I'm sorry, I was just so amazed by the Fisherman value there. It didn't stop at the Skelly King. It ended up pulling in the Mother Witch and the Barbarian from the Bar Barrel as well. It was so fascinating. Really good plays from KK here.
You know, a lot of fishermen have to lie about the size of the fish they pull down. Not KK now. Got a good story for him. As we go into double elixir time, it's KK ahead by quite a lot, 1939 to 1210 on the right-hand side. Juicy, what does Mo have to do to stay in this one?
To stay in this, you gotta cycle a lot of tombstones. KK does have the Fireball for your main counter to the RG, the Zappies, so if you're always cycling tombstones, you can bait the Fireballs as well as just get a lot of value with distraction and DPS from those skeletons.
And this time a nice Fisherman play out of Mohamed, who holds on, and KK leaking a little bit there, trying to make his decision, get the optimal timing as that Royal Ghost does go in front of the Zappies and distract for the RG, but a nice Fisherman Tombstone play here for Mo.
Fisherman Tombstone play, and the RG still is able to get somehow, even with the Skelly King here. Skelly King does have a very nicely charged ability here. Two Fishermen's on the board. Are we gonna see a counter push right now? There it is.
Royal Giant behind. Skelly King does pop the ability. That's very big right now for Mohamed Light. Fireball does not hit much, but the RG hits a whole lot of tower, and suddenly Mohamed Light right back in the lead, but can he defend this push?
Now he has to defend. He's got the Tombstone, he's got the Fisherman. Fireball's gonna come in very nicely here, and RG's locked on the tower, and it's healthy.
Oh my word, the unthinkable has happened. Mohamed Light loses in round number 1.
And a sigh of relief and a bit of a celebration from KK. That is a huge win, an upset in fact.
What an unbelievable performance by KK. Phenomenal deck picks, great opportunistic play, taking control of the most important moments. That's what you need to be a champion. KK starting his journey off right. Let's go down to the floor and hear from our winner.
I mean, first of all, let's hear it one more time for KK, huh? KK, you just beat the best player in the world in your first matchup at World Finals. How does it feel?
世界一のプレイヤーと勝利してどのような気持ちでしょうか。一言感想お願いします。
私は世界最強のプレイヤーを倒しました。優勝します。
I've beaten the best player in the world. I will win the championship.
You'll love to hear it, and I gotta ask, game number 1, most important game, you know you need the confidence. Talk to me about picking that deck, Royal Hogs with Archer Queen.
第一試合のことはね、一番大事なんですけれども、どの風にこのデッキを決定しましたか。アーチャークイーンとロイヤルホグはどうして決めましたか。
彼の得意なデッキに対して、全て強く立ち回れるデッキがそのデッキだと判断しました。
I'm basically like feel very confident, very good with all those cards, so I just chose whatever was like I felt best for me.
Confidence paying off here for KK, who picks up a big-time win. Back to you, boys.
Thanks, Andrew. When you talk about confidence, almost every single player here at this World Finals picked someone other than themselves to be the champion. Most of them picked Mohamed Light. The one who didn't do that was Mo Light's round 1 opponent, KK picking himself to be the champion. And you gotta think about that mentality coming in today. Starts things off right.
Confidence is so important. Let's head over to the deck breakdown. Deck 1, we saw a Giant Skelly Roll Delivery. I thought this deck was very weird. A lot of the time you're going to be seeing a log plus poison, or maybe a Giant Skeleton plus log. Like, having Giant Skeleton Roll Delivery is weird. It does the same sort of thing.
Getting a little bit fancy here in game number 1. KK taking that one on to our second game. Royal Giants both directions, but you gotta feel like the Fireball being in KK's deck and 2 of the most important pieces, Mother Witch for the Bats and the Zappies, of course, for the Royal Giant, made that a difficult situation for Mo.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing there was the Hunter provides so much value in DPS on the defense, and the Fireball doesn't take it out. And then simply on the other end of the spectrum, the Fireball kills the Zappies, and that's the main crutch of the defense in that deck.
We want to dig in more to these moments, and to do that, let's bring on the two-time Clash Royale League regional champion, Joshua A.C. Sharon. Josh, that was a fascinating matchup. KK, one of your longtime favorites. Tell me what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot wait to get into this replay, so let's get started. 28 seconds left in the game. This is where it all counts. We do see the Fisherman yank it to the tombstone, and really, once the final minute was going on in this game, Mohamed-kaitoo really started to step up with his defenses. He really brought it back into the game. KK on the opposite side gets the double Fisherman up. He's starting to put together, defenses of his own, offensive attacks of his own. We see all these troops, and we do see the missed Fireball. It only takes out the bats. The Fisherman does get taken out by the skeletons. And really, 6:30, everybody thought it was going to get that final shot. Not going to be the case, though. And right there, I do want to take a split second, shine the spotlight. That's the mistake of the match. It's as simple as that. You put the Fisherman down low on accident, you are going to lose a game. You know, if we talk to him after the game, behind the scenes, he's going to say he meant to do Zappies or Mother Witch or any card but the Fisherman.
And you saw a little bit of a grimace there when he was watching that interaction happen. And of course, the big fist pump and celebration out of KK. So a huge win for KK in this one. And now Mohamed-kaitoo drops down into the lower bracket. But as the three of us here at this table all know, if there's anyone who can battle back through the lower bracket, the guy is Mohamed-kaitoo.
Absolutely, we've seen it happen before. We might see it again.
Hopefully for Mo, we'll see that one again, because that would be an unceremonious exit to go out that early. Josh, thoughts? Do we see Mo with an early exit here on this one, or is he going to bounce back in that lower bracket?
You will never get me to say that Mo is getting knocked out early. We're seeing him day 3. We're seeing him win it all. Still is my prediction.
Well, of course, we now have gotten through almost all of our round 1 matchups. We are getting to the final, the 8th matchup. Let's go ahead down to Andrew Guy to get this one started.
He's the only American in the mix. It's the guy that broke the global tournament, making his 2nd World Finals appearance in a row. It's Air Surfer!
I'm ready for the 2022 Sierra World Finals, and I'll do my best to become the champion. I think of myself as one of the best players in the game right now, and I hope I can prove it this year in the World Finals. I didn't think I would become a pro player. I was just playing for fun and was pretty good at the game. And I was actually planning on going to college until CRL was announced, and that's when I joined and became a pro player.
He's got 7 top 5 finishes and looking to make it a perfect day for Japan for his 2nd World Finals appearance, Pandora!
日本から来たパンドラです。クラロワが、世界一楽しいゲームの理由はやはり戦術がいっぱいあって、それを成功できた時に、とても気持ちよく感じるからです。試合の前には練習をしっかりするのと睡眠をとるのを大事にしています。
Much has been made about how, on paper, these two players are very similar. Both 8.7K for that personal best on ladder. Both have been around for a long time. Very versatile players overall. But the question here, Juicy, is what separates Air Surfer from Pandora?
I think the biggest thing that separates them is a lot of the time Air Surfer is going to be using cards based upon making a push or a straightforward attack like the RG and the Hog, whereas Pandora is using stuff, win conditions that are more placed on the tower, like the Miner and the Drill. And when you get in matchups like that, a lot of the time, if the player that is using the more consistent on the tower win condition, if they defend well, they are going to win.
Well, we'll find out if that turns out to be true. Let's jump down for game number 1 of Air Surfer and Pandora. Air Surfer top of your screen, Pandora at the bottom, and you see Pandora going right to Miner directly on tower.
Absolutely. Air Surfer with the bar barrel to counter and a cage. So that makes me think more like RG, like I predicted, or potentially maybe even more of a beatdown oriented thing like a Golem or an Electro Giant.
Muskie high and gonna take care of the Goblin Brawler, but not quite that Baby Dragon, so gonna have to put something out there to control. Giant, or the Skelly King does pull to the opposite lane, and Air Surfer now with Night Witch.
Night Witch, that's definitely going to be a Golem. Pandora has the poison for the Night Witch, though. It's a very important card. Tornado's going to kill this Bats and pull that Skelly King back. Night Witch is going to fall, but overall, Pandora's got a very nice damage lead here on the left.
Up one Elixir, though, is Air Surfer, and the big question is, you throw a pile of rocks down here in single Elixir? Opts not to and goes for the Bar Barrel, and Skarmy right behind that with a minor counterplay.
I really like that play to play passive and not go for that Golem in the back in the single. Pandora has a lot of baity cards that can apply a lot of pressure for cheap in the single Elixir, and very, very good defense as well, along with Musketeer and a very solid building in the Mortar.
And a great read there from Pandora as a nice lightning comes in, courtesy of Air Surfer for a little extra damage plus Baby Dragon. Mortar does not pick up quickly enough. Pandora, recognizing NATO out of cycle, put that miner in the back. Let's see how that interaction goes as the game goes on.
Pandora just barely able to get enough Elixir for that Skarmy. Bar Barrel does come off, but that Mortar always getting that final shot off, and Pandora's just is extending that damage lead further and further as this game goes on, but we are heading close into double Elixir soon.
Yeah, what is the gap that Pandora wants to create before, and for not just the towers down, what's the gap he wants to create before we get into double and triple?
I mean, you're looking at maybe at least 1,000 damage lead here, because a lot of the time, once it hits into that later Elixir time, you're going to be constantly defending. You'll be able to send a miner here or there, but a lot of the time, especially when you're in a same lane situation, that is just going to feed into the counter push for Air Surfer.
So Golem down way in the back, a pressure Skarmy on the right-hand side. Bar Barrel takes care of it, but of course feeds that Skeleton King who pops the ability. And the Golden Knight going to go take care of the miner as the Skeleton King's spawned troops just shred that goal.
Really nice dash here, taking out the Musketeer. Pandora is back to a second one. Lightning is in cycle. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Lightning come down right here.
Does get the Muskie off the board, and a nice, beautiful miner play with the Baby Dragon, and Air Surfer takes control just as we go into sudden death.
Pandora with no air targeting cards in cycle was forced to just go Skarmy, Skeleton King, Mortar the bridge. He needs to try and get his damage back. Ability is going to pop. Musketeer taking out this Baby Dragon. Golden Knight down to control and distract this Mortar. There's no damage coming through for Pandora right now.
And some bats to protect there, so Air Surfer has to let those ones go down. A nice miner to pull that Night Witch back, plus some poison damage.
But no mortar shots. Skelly King on the defense to distract the Baby Dragon. This is a very, very close match, but 30 seconds until triple Elixir. Pandora needs to get a very solid amount of damage before that triple Elixir comes in, or else the Golem will be constantly applying pressure.
Miner picked up pretty easily here by that Golden Knight, and Skeletons won't do much at all with the Baby Dragon and, of course, the Brawler, but a mortar connection, that's very important right now for Pandora.
Mortar connection, absolutely very important. Lightning's going to come down here. Mortar just barely able to prevent this Golden Knight dash. Very close game. Will the Mortar get the shot? It does.
Wow, it just barely gets off. Here we are, triple Elixir, 763 to 589. Pandora holding on.
And as we near closer and closer to the end of this match, we have to be thinking about the direct damage. Lightning is just very, very close, and Golden Knight not able to make it. Huge push on the left, though.
Lightning in, will that be enough? Skarmy trying to save, Baby Dragon on tower. Baby Dragon on tower, but it turns. 68 HP, one final belch. Air Surfer takes game number one.
He does indeed, able to apply that pressure as we got into triple Elixir. Like I said, he didn't even have to go for a Golem. He stacked Baby Dragons, lightning those Musketeers, realizing that there's just not much in Pandora's deck to deal with that Baby Dragon Tornado combo.
And now here's where we get into the separation of Pandora and Air